Warrior Lore. Chapter 1641. Boom. At the same time, Dongli Qingqing's body also had a mysterious power awakening in an instant. The chi of gods and demons surged. She held the ancient bow in her hand and pulled it up. An energy light arrow was immediately released from the bow. Chi. The energy light arrow swept out and shattered the space in its path. It pierced through the sky and directly swept towards Lian Qingrong's ancient ice dragon vein spirit. This arrow was accompanied by lightning and thunder. The green light dazzled the world and pierced through the ancient ice dragon's body. It devoured its vitality and corroded the runes. Roar! The ancient ice dragon roared. The dragon soared into the sky, and its huge body rolled. The surrounding ice power was rolling, but it was unable to freeze that terrifying energy light arrow. Roar! In the blink of an eye, the red-bone horse monkey roared and hissed. Its aura was brimming with vitality as it communicated with the heavens and earth. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, revealing a kind of origin energy that came from the heavens and earth. Endless dazzling light burst forth as a fist that carried the destructive power of 3 types of spiritual thunders directly smashed into the ferocious head of the primordial ice dragon. Rumble, the void trembled. Under the bombardment of the energy arrow and the red-bone horse monkey, the clear and beautiful primordial ice dragon vein soul was finally unable to resist. It roared angrily and cracked, quietly turning into fragments. After that, it turned into broken and resplendent ice runes. It was as if the sky was filled with ice and frost that poured down from the void, like a dream. Puchi, the vein spirit, was shattered. At the same time, Lian Qingrong opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. The vein spirit was shattered. This was an absolute heavy injury. You deliberately led me into this ruin? Lian Qingrong staggered back. She looked at the ancient bow in Dongli Qingqing's hand and seemed to have understood something. This ruin must be related to her. No wonder she disappeared after entering this canyon. After chasing me for so many days, it's time to pay the price. Dongli Qingqing did not say much. Her beautiful figure soared into the sky. She intended to join hands with Du Xiaofu to deal with Lian Qingrong. At this moment, she did not hold back her nirvana chi and covered the entire void. Lian Qingrong's eyes flickered. Facing Du Xiaofu in front of her, she was already helpless. At this moment, with the addition of that fairy-like moving woman, she was very clear that she was afraid that she would not be able to resist. You want to leave? Du Xiaofu's eyes glowed with purplish gold light as he formed hand seals. Ancient runes appeared on his body, and one rune turned into 8. The 8 ancient runes once again faintly turned into 64 runes. They were arranged in a mysterious way in the void, forming a pattern that was neither round nor square, enveloping the entire area. Boom! When these 64 ancient runes were arranged, the space of the divine domain trembled, and an ancient and strange aura seeped out from the void. In the void where the 64 ancient runes were arranged and twisted, the space solidified and the ripples in the void became chaotic. Lian Qingrong's eyes were filled with vigilance. In this frozen void, there was a terrifying power at this moment. There was wind, rain, thunder, and lightning. There was a change in heaven and earth, and there was chaos in the mountains and lakes. It was enough to make his heart tremble. Not good. What kind of strange technique is this? In the next instant, Lian Qingrong discovered that she was trapped within. At that moment, as he moved, the entire space became chaotic, and it also bound her. It was as if she was trapped in a world and was completely controlled by the other party. Her heart instantly trembled. Not good. At this moment, Lian Qingrong's expression changed completely. Her eyes seemed to be filled with snow and glaciers moving. At this moment, she realized that she had underestimated the guy in front of her. Puff! Lian Qingrong's hand seals changed rapidly. She spat out a mouthful of blood essence and wrapped it in her hand seals. The runes on her body intertwined, and her body emitted a light like ice and snow. Boom! In an instant, the aura in Lian Qingrong's body soared, and the terrifying aura shook the void. The surrounding void and the 64 runes pattern that Du Xiaofu had just arranged were shaking. The aura and fluctuation made one's primordial spirit fearful, as if heaven and earth were about to shatter. Break! Lian Qingrong shouted. The terrifying aura erupted like a volcano, and the power soared in an instant. It broke through the rune-patterned space that Du Xiaofu had arranged, causing the surrounding void to be filled with cracks. Taiqing demon subduing arrow. But at the same time, Dongli Qingqing made her move. 3 arrows in a row pierced through the void. The chi of fiend gods rolled, and the bright green light was dazzling. Wherever the arrows passed, the void was filled with cracks. It was too fast. Lian Qingrong, who had just escaped, had no time to avoid it. She tried her best to block it. Dong, but Lian Qingrong only blocked 2 arrows. The third arrow was like a green thunderbolt, emitting a bright green light, causing the void to constantly collapse and collapse. Finally, it pierced through Lian Qingrong's palm. There were white runes and dark red blood pouring out. Puff! Lian Qingrong spat out blood again. At the same time, her figure was also shaken back. Like a flash of lightning, she rushed to the side of the 8th maidservant without any pause. She burst into a white light and took the 8th maidservant away quickly. That speed was too fast. Dongli Qingqing was 1 step slower. She wanted to continue to chase, but looking at Du Xiaofu, who was suddenly in a daze, she did not chase after them. Still lacking a bit, Du Xiaofu was in a daze. There were 8 runes flickering in front of him. There were mountains and lakes moving, golden light resplendent, colorful light dazzling, lightning filling the air, mist faintly discernible, and flames rising. The first life, the second life, the third life, the fourth life, the fifth life, the wandering soul, the returning soul, the 8 ancient runes lingered. They were all comprehended by Du Xiaofu from the life-saving talisman. Afterwards, the 8 ancient runes quietly dissipated. He murmured softly, still lacking a bit. Du Xiaofu withdrew his aura and his gaze became clear again. His soul turned into a silver-gold arc of lightning, shooting into his forehead. As the violet celestial tower boiled, it was also withdrawn into the celestial tower within him. Looking at Dongli Qingqing before him, a faint smile spread across his face. He said, "Fortunately, you're fine. Otherwise, I would definitely have torn that successor of the Great Snow Mountain apart." Dongli Qingqing glanced at the woman, surnamed Su, in the distance. She knew why Du Xiaofu had appeared here. She was moved, and her heart rippled. She opened her red lips slightly and said, "I'm fine. This place is connected to the ancestors of my clan. The spirit of my demon-subduing Taiqing Bao has always been here. It has finally returned." How terrifying. Du Xiaofu looked at the ancient Bao in Dongli Qingqing's hand, and his heart trembled inside. The Bao was extraordinary. Its power was even more terrifying than the true saint weapon of legalism, the halberd of the sacred void. "This is the treasure of my clan. It's a medium-grade saint weapon." Dongli Qingqing rolled her eyes at Du Xiaofu, then put away the demon-subduing Taiqing Bao in her hand. "Just what is the background of your clan?" Du Xiaofu asked curiously. Back in the Great Luan sect, he had heard the 4th elder, Jialo Yi, mention that Dongli Qingqing came from a large clan, but it seemed to have gradually declined. "It's too important. It's related to the ancient times. But now, I'm the only one left. The Great Luan sect was only left behind by my clan's ancestors in the outside world. They are my clan's converts. It's a long story. I'll tell you later," Dongli Qingqing said to Du Xiaofu. She had entered the divine domain this time to find the lost spirit of the demon-subduing Taiqing Bao other than to obtain the legendary greatest fortune. With the clues on her body, Dongli Qingqing finally found the approximate location. In the end, she met the successor of the Great Snow Mountain outside. Then, she entered the canyon ruins with the clues on her body. Du Xiaofu nodded and did not ask any more questions. He said to Dongli Qingqing, "You should stay by my side in the future. Don't come and go like a ghost. I'm worried. You're still at the Nirvana realm, and I'm already at the Nirvana realm. What are you worried about?" Dongli Qingqing rolled her eyes at Du Xiaofu, but her heart was moved. Her delicate face was a little rosy, and she was tender and beautiful. She knew that he cared. "Then I'll follow you." Du Xiaofu did not mind. He smiled and said, "Anyway, it's fine as long as you're by my side." Dragons, School of vertical and horizontal legalism. There aren't enough people looking for trouble with you. Dongli Qingqing said, "You're my woman. Even if I die, I won't let you be in danger." Du Xiaofu looked at Dongli Qingqing seriously. He paused for a moment and said, "I know what happened on Tianhuang mainland back then. I'll take responsibility." You? Dongli Qingqing was stunned. When they were on the Great Wheel sect, she guessed that he might know at a glance that the seductive woman who disguised herself as a man back then was also by his side. "She told you?" Dongli Qingqing looked at Du Xiaofu. Her slender hands clenched her sleeves, and she felt a little helpless. Back then, everything happened in the illusion realm. Her primordial spirit was affected, and that was why that happened. However, at this moment, she felt like she was a thief. Chapter 1642. Even I know about it. Du Xiaofu gazed at Dongli Qingqing. He took a step forward in the air and held her hands that seemed to be at a loss. "Back then, you left without saying goodbye because of this, right? No matter what, you are my woman. I will definitely take responsibility." "You? Who wants you to take responsibility?" Dongli Qingqing wanted to pull her hands back, but discovered that he was holding them tightly. She was unable to free herself. After struggling for a while, she decided to give up. However, at this moment, her cheeks were so red that it seemed like water could be squeezed out. She rolled her eyes and glared at Du Xiaofu. "If you don't want me, I will still take responsibility," Du Xiaofu said very seriously. Gazing at Dongli Qingqing, he said seriously, "Then it's settled." "In your dreams," on Dongli Qingqing's exquisite face, her charming eyes glared at Du Xiaofu. She kept feeling that something was wrong. She seemed to be at a disadvantage, but she couldn't put her finger on it. The Demon King, Du Xiaofu, has a close relationship with that beautiful woman. Seeing the conversation between Du Xiaofu and Dongli Qingqing, Big Lan and Little Lan were astonished. No wonder the Demon King had rushed here with no regard for his life. So it turned out that the beautiful woman actually had a close relationship with him. The woman surnamed Su looked at Dongli Qingqing. Such an exquisite and peerlessly beautiful woman made her pale in comparison. She didn't say anything. Walala. At this moment, the ancient ruins and the surroundings were almost completely destroyed. The mist that shrouded the vast world was also slowly dissipating. "Let's leave this place first." Du Xiaofu pulled Dongli Qingqing through the air and landed beside the woman surnamed Su. Looking at Yunmu, he suddenly thought of something and said, "Yunmu, can you find that guy who just escaped?" "No problem. He's severely injured and can't run far. Even if he's in here, give me some time and I'll be able to find him." Yunmu was full of confidence. Search immediately." Du Xiaofu's lips curled into a malicious smile, and a faint cold light flashed across his eyes. "Yes, master." As soon as Yunmu finished speaking, his body was instantly suffused with light while a sharp and strange squeaking sound suddenly resounded from his mouth, and it pierced through space and spread towards the distance. Creak, creak. Soon after, there were many strange squeaks echoing outside the ruins canyon, and then they gradually disappeared. "Master, I believe that it won't be long before we receive news. That fellow won't be able to escape," Yunmu said. She seemed to be eager to see the world plunged into chaos. However, she did not dare to look Dongli Qingqing in the eye. Back then, she had led a group of people to attack Dongli Qingqing. From the looks of it, her relationship with her master was not a small matter. "It's the cloud-swallowing wolf shrew." Hearing Yunmu's voice, Dongli Qingqing was a little surprised. She recognized Yunmu's identity. Back then, the densely packed cloud-swallowing wolf shrews had caused her a lot of trouble. "Well, she will follow us in the future." Du Xiaofu nodded. With the beast-controlling technique, Yunmu would be loyal. In this space of the divine domain, it seemed to be even more useful. "You want to find the descendant of the Great Snow Mountain?" Dongli Qingqing's eyes moved slightly. "Since he dared to touch my woman, I naturally can't let him off easily." "I'm not done with him," Du Xiaofu said. Lian Qingrong had suffered an absolute injury, and now was the best time to deal with him. Du Xiaofu had a lot of experience in beating a drowning dog. He has suffered a serious injury. It's time to deal with him, but after all, He is at the peak of the nirvana real self. If he is anxious, even if we can kill him together, I'm afraid we will have to pay a heavy price. Dongli Qingqing helplessly glanced at Du Xiaofu and said sternly. A nirvana real self was at the last moment, and once he went all out, it was absolutely terrible. Even if we can't kill him, we have to make him suffer. Du Xiaofu didn't intend to let that guy go easily. He wanted to take advantage of his illness to kill him. After that guy recovered from his injury, it would be difficult to deal with him. In this space of the divine domain, Du Xiaofu knew that he had a lot of enemies. Even if he couldn't kill that guy, he absolutely couldn't let him recover in peace. Otherwise, it would be a problem in the future. That's true. If we join forces, we won't be afraid of him. Dongli Qingqing nodded. She and the guy in front of her had been together for so long. They had met in the Savage Beast mountain range and honed together in the dark forest. She naturally understood his character. Swoosh, swoosh. After a while, several people left the ruins and retreated from the canyon. They didn't encounter any more danger, and the ancient remnant formation had completely disappeared. In the vast ancient forest, there were no more runes flickering from time to time, and the thick fog began to dissipate. However, the clouds that covered the sky had existed for countless years, and it wouldn't dissipate in a short period of time. With Yunmu around, the group would not encounter too many dangers in this ancient and cold forest. Hence, they felt much more relaxed. Why does your nirvana real self have 7 divine rings? In the ancient forest, Du Xiaofu asked Dongli Qingqing curiously. It's related to the profound that I've comprehended. I've made some progress in the divine domain, and the divine domain is filled with mysteries unknown to mortals. With the help of the Taiqing demon subduing Bao's soul, I was able to make further progress and break through the nirvana real self. Dongli Qingqing said, I was originally a lesser sovereign nirvana real self, and now it should be the legendary natal sovereign nirvana real self. It's also called nirvana real self. It's using one's own profound to achieve enlightenment. Natal sovereign nirvana real self. Du Xiaofu seemed to be touched. The natal sovereign nirvana real self seemed to be a step further than the lesser sovereign nirvana real self. Half-step sovereign, lesser sovereign nirvana real self, natal sovereign nirvana real self, grand sovereign nirvana real self, Du Xiaofu murmured in his heart. He suddenly thought of something. Among the various nirvana levels, could the grand sovereign nirvana real self be the end? The lesser sovereign nirvana real self could go one step further to the natal sovereign nirvana real self, or even the grand sovereign nirvana real self. But if the grand sovereign nirvana real self wasn't the end, then what could one achieve? Pondering in his heart, Du Xiaofu lowered his head and walked in the forest. However, he fell into deep thought. Could his grand sovereign nirvana real self go one step further? If he could succeed, it would allow him to ascend again. Is the grand sovereign nirvana real self the end? Du Xiaofu asked Dongli Qingqing. As far as I know, the grand sovereign nirvana real self is the end since ancient times. There aren't many people who can step into the grand sovereign nirvana real self in this world. Dongli Qingqing said. Looking at Du Xiaofu, her eyes rippled and said, however, what I know is also limited. Perhaps in ancient times, when geniuses were everywhere and sovereigns were everywhere, there were sovereigns who had stepped into the grand sovereign nirvana real self. Even if it's the end since ancient times, can I take another step? Du Xiaofu said softly. The grand sovereign nirvana real self was also a path taken by the predecessors. However, if he wanted to take another step forward, where should he go? The path in front of him was full of confusion, and he couldn't find a place to settle down. What are they talking about? I don't understand. Hearing the conversation between Du Xiaofu and Dongli Qingqing, Dalan and Xiaolan felt like they were in the clouds. They couldn't understand it all. The woman surnamed Su smiled at the two girls and said, if you can understand, you won't be far from taking another step forward. Squeak, squeak. All of a sudden, a familiar squeaking sound rang out from the quiet forest. The ground began to tremble. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, a few cloud-swallowing wolf shrews quietly emerged from the ground and squeaked at the cloud dog as if they were trying to say something. After that, they quietly burrowed back into the ground and disappeared. Master, I found traces of that guy. It's not far ahead. Yunmu said to Du Xiaofu. Hee hee. Du Xiaofu's lips curled into a smile. Since he found that guy, he naturally couldn't let him have an easy time. Swish. Several hours later, in a valley in the vast forest, thick fog billowed. Suddenly, there was a violent energy fluctuation, and a purple-gold lightning sword slashed down from the void. When this sword appeared, lightning surged, and the void was shattered. A pitch-black spatial crack swallowed everything and directly fell down. Rumble. The entire valley was split open, and a huge ravine was formed. Gravel shot out, and the earth shook. Bastard! Sharp curses rang out in the void, and then everything disappeared. In the messy valley, there were some bloodstains, but Lian Qing's face was nowhere to be seen. He escaped quite quickly. Continue the chase. Du Xiaofu's figure appeared, and he put away the purple-gold heavenly tower. Rumble. Several hours later, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled on a cliff, and a purple thundercloud suddenly appeared. Zalala. Terrifying lightning descended, and it was like purple pythons shuttling through the void. In an instant, the entire cliff was destroyed and turned into ashes. Some people vomited blood, and some left dark red bloodstains in the ruins, but there was no one. That person from the Great Snow Mountain ran faster than a rabbit. Du Xiaofu's figure appeared on the ruins, and he cursed in a low voice. Swish, swish, swish. One day later, on the mountain peak in the thick fog, there was a sudden burst of green light. Lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. 3 energy arrows suddenly pierced through the void, and the surrounding heaven and earth energy fluctuated violently, swallowing life and shattering the void. Puffed, puffed. Someone vomited blood, and blood stains were left on the flattened mountain peak, but there was still no sign of the person. He escaped again. He really is the father of a rabbit, running so fast. Du Xiaofu appeared in the void, and he was filled with hatred. He couldn't even catch up. Master, that guy's injuries should be getting worse. He can't escape. Yunmu smiled, and his rat-like teeth protruded. He continued to inform the cloud-devouring wolves in the forest to search. There was no way to escape their search. Next time, I must be prepared. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. Although Lian Qingrong had escaped several times in a row, he reckoned that Lian Qingrong's injuries were getting worse. That pitiful sovereign. Big Lan and Little Lan followed behind, and their eyes were filled with shock. They could be considered to have witnessed the tragic process of the birth of a sovereign with their own eyes. That successor of the Great Snow Mountain, a dignified Nirvana sovereign, was originally so valiant and powerful, but now in front of this demon king, he was being chased everywhere and fled in a sorry state. Presumably, that sovereign's heart is definitely not feeling good right now. Big Lan and Little Lan sighed in their hearts. Big Lan and Little Lan's guess was right. At this moment, Lian Qingrong's heart was not only not feeling good, he was simply vomiting blood continuously. Lian Qingrong really didn't know how that kid knew where he was hiding. Although the several attempts to kill him didn't really do anything to him, and he was discovered in time, it also made him have to protect the 8 maidservants, and he suffered heavy injuries in a panic. Within this strange forest, it consumed a lot of Xin Qi and Essence Spirit energy. Although it seemed to have become more relaxed recently, it wasn't much better. Coupled with the continuous heavy injuries, even though Lian Qingrong was continuously consuming pills, it was difficult for it to have much effect, especially when his meridian spirit was shattered. If he wanted to recover, he would need an extremely long time. A shattered meridian spirit was an absolute heavy injury that couldn't be recovered in a short period of time. After a series of attacks, this successor of the Great Snow Mountain was already getting weaker and weaker. A dignified Nirvana sovereign was already infamous thousands of years ago. When Lian Qingrong entered the space of the divine territory, he was originally arrogant enough to look down on the world. Who would have thought that he would be in such a sorry state right now? Chapter 1643. Wait until I recover. I won't let that brat go. Lian Qingrong was furious, but at this moment, she was even more aggrieved, extremely aggrieved. Inside the abyss shrouded in fog, Lian Qingrong set up a formation around her before entering the abyss to heal. The severe injuries on her body made her almost powerless to escape. If it weren't for the continuous use of pills, she would have collapsed long ago. Voila! A moment later, inside the cave, Lien Qingrong sat cross-legged. After consuming some more natural treasures, snow-white runes surrounded her body. Inside the cave, the 8 beautiful maidservants were also sitting cross-legged, circulating their energy to heal their wounds. They were also in a sorry state and weak state, having suffered heavy injuries. However, it was clear that not much time had passed. In less than 4 hours, Lien Qingrong, who was shrouded in light, suddenly woke up. The light in her eyes was like snow, and her aura was sharp and cold. They've caught up again. Lien Qingrong's face twitched fiercely. Her expression was gloomy and ugly. The light on her body instantly retracted, and with a surge of bright white light, she disappeared from the cave with the 8 maidservants. Whoosh whoosh, in the blink of an eye, there was a bright white light from the abyss that tore through the void like lightning, instantly breaking through the air. Rumble. However, at the same time, the void around the entire abyss suddenly twisted and changed color. With a rumbling sound, the wind and clouds surged. The void was distorted, and an energy barrier enveloped it. In the vast space, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Vast dark clouds gathered, and a huge formation suddenly appeared in the sky. That Demon King is actually a talisman master. In the distance, Dalan and Xiaolan looked at the formation that suddenly appeared in the distance. The terrifying aura emanating from the formation made them tremble in fear even though they were far away. It was definitely not an ordinary formation. This time, that successor of the Great Snow Mountain probably won't be able to escape so easily. The woman surnamed Su spoke. Looking at the terrifying formation in the distance, her beautiful eyes were also filled with waves. Chi-la-la, within the formation, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The terrifying aura was like a tide, and runes flickered like a rain of light. A vast and terrifying aura swept out, and several figures were shaken out of the void. Their figures were revealed. It was Lien Qingrong and the 8 maidservants who had just escaped. Not good. Lien Qingrong's expression changed greatly. She looked at the big formation in the void. It was not simple. No wonder she was wondering why the boy did not attack directly like the previous times. It turned out that he had set up a big formation secretly. At this moment, the 8 maidservants' faces were still deathly pale. One of the maidservants said to Lien Qingrong, "Sir, we are a burden to you. You should leave alone and don't worry about us. Otherwise, you won't be able to escape. Don't mention this again. You are my maidservants. How can I not care about you?" Lien Qingrong shouted in a low voice. She looked around and then looked at the void and said, "Come out. Why are you hiding? I'm setting up a formation here openly. You're the one who's been hiding all along, aren't you?" With that, Du Xiaofu and Dongli Qingqing's figures emerged from the formation. Looking at Lien Qingrong, Du Xiaofu smiled faintly. Thanks to the thick fog in the forest, which could block the breath and energy fluctuations, he was able to set up the formation smoothly. Otherwise, the descendant of the Great Snow Mountain would have been alerted. Du Xiaofu looked at Lien Qingrong with a faint smile and said, "Continue to escape. Why don't you escape?" Looking at Du Xiaofu, Lien Qingrong's handsome face twitched. Her eyes were cold. She glanced at Dongli Qingqing. Facing the two people, her life-saving talisman had disappeared. In her current situation, she was very clear about the consequences. "Boy, you don't have a life-saving talisman either. Even if you join forces, it will be a life and death struggle. It won't benefit anyone." Lien Qingrong's face was gloomy. What she said was the truth. Even if she was seriously injured and extremely weak, if it really came to the last step, everyone would be in a life and death struggle. No one would benefit. "Really? Didn't you want to subdue me? Why do you want to fight to the death now?" Du Xiaofu looked at Lien Qingrong with a smile and said, "You want to fight to the death? It's hard to say whether I will die in the end. However, you will definitely die. So, I won't lose out. The one who will lose out is you. I don't mind doing this deal." "You?" Lien Qingrong's face twitched violently. She had never thought that there would be a Nirvana reincarnator who dared to be so arrogant in front of her. At this moment, She was helpless. No need to say more. You have to pay the price for chasing me for so long, Dongli Qingqing said with a clear voice. Her clear eyes revealed a fierce look. She directly called out the Taiqing demon-subduing bow. Terrifying fiend god Qi swept out. The light was dazzling, causing the entire formation to be stirred. In an instant, the bow was released and 3 arrows directly pierced through the space. Qi, Qi, Qi. The 3 arrows bloomed brightly and illuminated the formation. The 3 pitch-black space cracks swallowed the light, distorted the void, and swept toward Lian Qingrong like lightning. All of you be careful. Lian Qingrong's expression changed greatly. She said to the 8 maidservants behind her. In a panic, she had already used all her strength. She called out the heavenly ice blade and placed it in front of her. She erupted with a vast aura. Her eyes were like moving glaciers, and the surroundings were covered in white snow. PFFF, PFFF, PFFF. The 3 energy light arrows were blocked by the heavenly ice blade. The golden halberd clanged and the runes shattered. The 3 energy light arrows were blocked and dissipated. However, Lian Qingrong's body was continuously shaken and she spat out 3 mouthfuls of dark red blood. Pong, pong, pong. At the same time, several attacks from the formation were like thunder. They directly engulfed Lian Qingrong's body and caused her to bleed again. Qi. This was within the formation that he had set up. Du Xiaofu's figure strangely appeared in front of Lian Qingrong, who was continuously shaken. The corners of his mouth revealed a trace of a strange smile. At this moment, this was within the formation that Du Xiaofu had set up himself. It was also within the space of the God domain. There would be no stronger experts coming in to spy on them. Finally, he could reveal his final trump card. A strange smile appeared at the corners of his mouth. At the same time, a purple flowing light accompanied by purple thunderclouds swept out from Du Xiaofu's palm. Lightning flowed. Suddenly, an aura that made people's hearts palpitate immediately pervaded the air. Rumble. The purple flowing light expanded in an instant. It was a huge purple 3-legged cauldron that was thousands of feet long. Mysterious lightning patterns spread on it, and thunderclouds rolled in the vast sky around it. The wind and clouds in the void of this formation suddenly changed color. Streaks of thunder exploded, filled with palpitating lightning, and a monstrous aura of destruction pervaded the air. That is, at this moment, Lian Qingrong raised her head. The depths of her mind suddenly trembled and throbbed. That aura of destruction made her soul tremble. Go. Du Xiaofu's hand seals condensed. The 3-legged cauldron instantly turned upside down and rotated. The surrounding space was completely distorted, revealing a huge deep hole, like a black hole. Around this strange black hole, purple thunderclouds surged endlessly. The black hole seemed to have merged with the void. Streaks of purple lightning were densely packed, like a purple waterfall hanging in the void. A powerful thunderous pressure emanated from it, capable of destroying all things. Boom! The 3-legged cauldron turned upside down, like a black hole descending. This was the purple thunder profound cauldron. Purple electric arcs with terrifying energy fluctuations pervaded from it. The surrounding space, along with the ZZ sound of the purple electric arcs pervading the air, collapsed inch by inch. Rumble. Streaks of purple lightning rushed out of the thunderclouds. Purple lightning flowed in the rolling thunderclouds. After a moment, dazzling purple electric arcs poured down. In an instant, countless thunderbolts fell from the sky, densely covering the surrounding space. Oh no! At this moment, Lian Qingrong really felt a chill spreading from the bottom of her heart. In front of this amazing thunder power, her primordial spirit was trembling. Boom! Lian Qingrong broke out with all her strength. White snow rolled all over the sky, freezing the space, and the ice sky blade struck out, but everything was useless. That frightening purple electric arc black hole, accompanied by an unstoppable destructive force, enveloped Lian Qingrong within, unable to resist. Then, everything in front of her eyes turned pitch black. The purple thunder profound cauldron turned upside down, enveloping Lian Qingrong and the 8 frightened maidservants in the distance. Finally, it shrank in an instant, turned into a purple electric arc and swept back to Du Xiaofu's palm, quietly disappearing. Hee. Du Xiaofu smiled. This time, he finally did not let the successor of the Great Snow Mountain escape. After being kept in the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron, that guy could not escape. Chapter 1644. Dongli Qingqing was not surprised by Du Xiaofu's Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron. She had already obtained the Divine Thunder Body Tempering Technique back in the Tianhuang continent. Back on the Tianhuang cliff, Du Xiaofu had used the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron to help the Tianhuang Leopard, Blue Fantasy, Scarlet Rock, Scarlet Pheasant, and other Divine Thunder Body Tempering techniques. She was there. He has a great background. What do you plan to do with him? Dongli Qingqing asked Du Xiaofu. She did not expect to be able to keep the successor of the Great Snow Mountain in the Divine Thunder Cauldron. You know the origin of the Great Snow Mountain? Du Xiaofu was a little curious. He had only heard of the Great Snow Mountain from Sumu Xin and Qi Yeshi, and it seemed to be related to some ancient inheritance. I know a little. Rumor has it that the Great Snow Mountain has existed since the Great Dragon Phoenix Tribulation, but there are very few of them. The outside world doesn't even know where the Great Snow Mountain is, but every time they enter the world, they will tell the world that they came from the Great Snow Mountain. They travel everywhere and seem to know everything in the world. It is said that they have always been promoting the deeds of the Dragon God and the Supreme Expert who stopped the great calamity of heaven and earth, warning the world that if the great calamity of heaven and earth were to happen again, it would be the end of the world. The Great Snow Mountain was once called School of Novelists by the world, along with Buddhism, Taoism, Moism, School of Famous Scholars, School of Yin-Yang, School of Vertical and Horizontal, and so on. However, because of their small ways, they were not valued by the world and eventually died out. Dongli Qingqing looked at Du Xiaofu and said, I've only heard of it. Whether it's true or not has yet to be verified. After all, it was a long time ago. The School of Novelists has always promoted the deeds of the Supreme Expert who stopped the great calamity of heaven and earth and the Dragon God. Hearing this, Du Xiaofu's eyes twitched. If the successor of the Great Snow Mountain was related to the Dragon God and the master of 3,000 cosmoses, he could not do anything to that kid. What do you plan to do with him? He is the successor of the Great Snow Mountain. I think he is the only successor of the Great Snow Mountain now, said Dongli Qingqing. Let's go and ask him. Du Xiaofu pondered for a moment. Then, he summoned the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron again and controlled it with the Pulse Soul Red Pheasant Monkey's body. Since they were inside the formation, he was not afraid that the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron would be exposed. He brought Dongli Qingqing into the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron. Rumble. Above the Purple Lightning Profound Cauldron, purple thunderclouds roiled as lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The terrifying aura of destruction caused the eighth maidservant's heart to palpitate in fear. Divine Thunder Cauldron, that's the Divine Thunder Cauldron. That brat is controlling a Divine Thunder Cauldron. In the void, Lian Qingrong's white battle robe was stained with blood. On her pale face, her eyes were trembling, as if she had seen the most shocking thing. He actually knows about the Divine Lightning Cauldron. Du Xiaofu and Dongli Qingqing appeared in the void. Du Xiaofu waved his sleeve, and the rolling purple thunderclouds around them also disappeared quietly. Who the hell are you? Why do you have a godly thunder cauldron on you? Lian Qingrong stared at Du Xiaofu, her gaze fluctuating. You know quite a lot. You can recognize the godly thunder cauldron. Du Xiaofu said, There are 9 godly thunder cauldrons. They were suppressing the evil spirits in Kyushu. Rumor has it that they have already disappeared. How can one be on you? Could it be that you are related to the evil spirits? Lian Qingrong suddenly trembled and revealed a shocked expression. You are the one who is related to the evil spirits. Du Xiaofu stared at Lian Qingrong and said, How much do you know about the godly thunder cauldron? Why should I tell you? Do you think you can do anything to me just because you can trap me? Lian Qingrong stared at Du Xiaofu. That brat indeed did not seem to be related to the evil spirits. The corner of her mouth curved into a cold smile, full of arrogance. Even if she was already a prisoner, she was still proud. Because this is my territory. Du Xiaofu smiled faintly. Falling into your hands means that my cultivation is not enough. I have let down the sect, unable to fulfill my promise to revitalize the sect. I have let down the ancestors of the sect, Lien Qingrong said with a somewhat melancholy expression. Then she looked straight at Du Xiaofu and said, "But brat, do you think you can make me bow my head just because you can trap me now? You can kill me, but I, the successor of the Great Snow Mountain, will never bow my head. If you want to know anything from me, you should give up. It doesn't matter. If you don't tell me, I can search your primordial spirit. When the time comes, I will refine your body into a puppet. Its power will definitely be extraordinary." Du Xiaofu said, "Brat, you are still too young. I know your primordial spirit is not weak, but unfortunately, if you want to search my primordial spirit, I'm afraid you still can't do it. You can use the divine thunder cauldron to trap me, but I guarantee that before you can touch me, if I want to self-destruct, you will not be able to stop me. You will get nothing." Lien Qingrong sneered. He was the only successor of the Great Snow Mountain. His name was Lien Qingrong. Even if he died, he would never let anyone touch his body and primordial spirit. That would be an insult to him. Hearing this, Du Xiaofu was stunned. Although he had a lot of confidence in the power of his primordial spirit, he was still afraid that he would not be able to stop the successor of the Great Snow Mountain from self-destructing. Du Xiaofu did not care if the successor of the Great Snow Mountain self-destructed. However, this guy still had a divine implement on him. If he self-destructed, it would be a great loss. Moreover, this guy seemed to be related to the Lord of the 3,000 Sectors and the Dragon God. It doesn't matter if you self-destruct. When you die, your maidservants are not bad. They should be able to be sold for a good price. It should not be a problem to exchange them for a few treasures. Du Xiaofu said indifferently. It was obvious that this guy cared a lot about the maidservants around him. Hearing Du Xiaofu's words, Dongli Qingqing could not help but secretly glare at Du Xiaofu. "Boy, what do you want to do?" At this moment, Lien Qingrong's expression suddenly changed. To him, the 8 maidservants seemed to be more important than his own life. "Shameless guy, you want to use me to threaten my master? Dream on." The 8 maidservants glared at Du Xiaofu. Almost at the same time, the aura of the 8 maidservants surged and shone brightly. She was going to self-destruct to prevent her master from being threatened. Chi-chi. In the void, several fingerprints had already swept out and turned into handprints that imprisoned the 8 maidservants at the same time. Rumble, Lien Qingrong wanted to intervene, but she could not do anything in the purple thunder profound cauldron. She was isolated by the sudden appearance of a large amount of purple gold thunderbolts. "How am I shameless? I'm not doing anything to you. I'm just selling you. I believe that with your purple color and strength, there will be many people who will like you. The price will definitely not be low." Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows and imprisoned the 8 maidservants. "Boy, if you have the ability, come at me. They are just maidservants and have nothing to do with them. As a Nirvana realm expert, do you only have this little ability to attack a few maidservants?" Lien Qingrong gloomily stared at Du Xiaofu. "You dare to touch my women, but I can't touch your maidservants? I'll sell them all someday. What can you do to me?" Du Xiaofu said in a deep voice. "What do you want?" Lien Qingrong looked directly at Du Xiaofu, her eyes twitching. "What is the relationship between the Great Snow Mountain and the Dragon God and the supreme expert who sealed the evil spirit?" Du Xiaofu asked. This was what he wanted to know. Lien Qingrong looked at the 8 maidservants imprisoned by Du Xiaofu. After a moment, she was forced to compromise and said to Du Xiaofu, "In ancient times, the ancestors of my sect had followed the Dragon God and the supreme expert who sealed the evil spirit. When the evil spirit broke the seal, the catastrophe of the world would come again. My Great Snow Mountain had always warned the world to be careful, but no one believed us. We were not valued by the world and were secretly suppressed. But my sect said that when the catastrophe of the world came again, the 9 divine thunder cauldrons would also gather. As long as my Great Snow Mountain had one successor, he would have to follow the owner of the divine thunder cauldron to resist the catastrophe of the world." Du Xiaofu was secretly moved. He did not doubt Lien Qingrong's words. The gathering of the 9 cauldrons was not something that ordinary people would know. "You have sealed yourself for so many years. What is your purpose in entering the space of the divine realm?" Du Xiaofu continued to ask, with a faint golden light flashing in his eyes. This is the last time the space of the divine realm is opened. It is said that there is the greatest opportunity left by the supreme expert who sealed the evil spirit. I am the only one left in my great snow mountain. I am looking for the revitalization of my great snow mountain to face the catastrophe of the world soon. Lin Qingrong said. Well, submit to me. Du Xiaofu said to Lin Qingrong. Why? You are a great supreme nirvana. In the space of the divine realm, I also have the opportunity to go further. I am already at the peak of nirvana of real self, but you are still at nirvana of nirvana. You are still too young in front of me. If I was in my heyday, you would not be able to do anything to me in a one-on-one fight. You want me to submit to you? You are overestimating yourself, Lin Qingrong said in a deep voice. He wanted to subdue the kid in front of him, but he did not expect that in just a few months. This kid actually wanted him to submit to him now. You are the descendant of the great snow mountain. You have to follow the owner of the divine thunder cauldron to fight against the catastrophe of the world. I am the owner of the divine thunder cauldron. You will not feel wronged if you submit to me, Du Xiaofu said. There are 9 divine lightning cauldrons. You only have one, right? Could it be that you want me to follow 9 people? 9 divine lightning cauldrons are gathered together. That's why I'm following them. I'm only following them. I'm not submitting. Lin Qingrong said. Well, I will give you a chance to recover to your heyday. When the time comes, you and I will fight. If I lose, I will let you and your maid go. If I win, you will submit to me. Du Xiaofu said. Originally, he wanted to teach this guy a lesson. However, the ancestor of his sect had followed the dragon god. That was little Xingxing's father. His divine thunder cauldron was also the owner of the 3,000 great worlds. Naturally, it was not good to make a move. And Lin Qingrong's natural beauty and talent also tempted Du Xiaofu. He wanted to subdue her and thought highly of her. You have a divine thunder cauldron. Even if I recover to my heyday, you will not be defeated. Lin Qingrong was very clear that he could not subdue the divine thunder cauldron. You and I will fight with our true strength. We will not use any treasures. Du Xiaofu looked at Lin Qingrong and said, This is my bottom line. The divine thunder cauldron is very important. You already know that now. If you can't become my person, I will not keep you. Lin Qingrong looked at Du Xiaofu and did not hesitate anymore. He nodded and said, Well, 1 month later, we will fight with our true strength. If you lose, let go of my maid. We will not have any relationship in the future. I will keep my mouth shut about the divine thunder cauldron in your hands. If I lose, I will submit to you. But you will not have this chance. Lin Qingrong did not want to drag on for too long. He had a secret method. Even if he could not recover to his heyday in a month's time, he would be almost recovered, and the longer it dragged on, the worse it would be for him. From the last time they met until now, only a few months had passed. His strength had improved tremendously, so he had to be on guard. Chapter 1645. All right, 1 month it is. Du Xiaofu nodded. A misty light shot out from his glabella, bringing with it a boundless qi that distorted the space inside the purple thunder profound cauldron. Then, in front of the 8 maidservants and Lin Qingrong's surprise, Du Xiaofu dissolved the 8 maidservants' restriction and said, Go inside and treat your injuries. It will save you a lot of time. Lin Qingrong looked at Du Xiaofu and entered without any doubt. The 8 maidservants were vigilant, but they also followed Lin Qingrong in a hurry, afraid to stay by Du Xiaofu's side for too long. After a while, after exiting the purple thunder profound cauldron, the scarlet demonic monkey's primordial spirit withdrew. Du Xiaofu withdrew the formation and said to Dongli Qingqing, I will be in seclusion for 3 days in this place. I will protect you. Dongli Qingqing nodded. She knew that Du Xiaofu's seclusion was related to Lin Qingrong. 1 month in the desolate ancient space was equivalent to 3 days in the outside world. 3 days later, they would have a crucial battle. Swoosh, swoosh. Seeing the formation being withdrawn, the Sioux lady, Yun Zhan, and the others flew over. I will be in seclusion for 3 days. You can wait for me here or leave first. Du Xiaofu said to the Sioux lady and the others. Then, he handed the desolate ancient space to Dongli Qingqing and entered the desolate ancient space himself. The Sioux lady's beautiful eyes flickered, but she did not choose to leave. In the center of the desolate ancient space, Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged. He was not confident about the battle with Lian Qingrong in 1 month. However, Lian Qingrong's fear of the divine thunder cauldron gave Du Xiaofu a little more confidence. In terms of physical strength, he also had his own reliance. In a real battle, he had to comprehend more of his ultimacy in this 1 month. A moment later, Du Xiaofu entered a state of comprehension. The ancient runes on his body flickered, sometimes splitting into 8, sometimes splitting into 64. During the 1 month in the desolate ancient space, Du Xiaofu wanted to improve the Upanishads he had comprehended in the life-saving talisman. During the battle with Lian Qingrong, he had comprehended something. I keep feeling like I'm missing something. Just a little bit more. A moment later, Du Xiaofu opened his eyes. Golden light fluctuated in his eyes, and the ancient runes on his body flickered. Recently, he had been immersed in the comprehension derived from the life-saving talisman, but he always felt that something was missing. Including the battle with Lian Qingrong a few days ago, if he could further comprehend the life-saving talisman, it would not be easy for Lian Qingrong to escape the next time he trapped her with 8 talismans. The first life, the second life, the third life, the fourth life, the fifth life, wandering soul, returning soul. 8 ancient runes hovered in front of Du Xiaofu, corresponding to the 8 words in his mouth. He murmured softly, "Just a little bit more, just a little bit more. I keep feeling like déjà vu. There's something in common." Right, the 8 gates universe formation. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu's eyes lit up. He remembered the 8 gates universe formation. It was an 8-star Nirvana-level talisman formation he had found on the 9th floor of the Haihuan School's universe building. The 8 gates referred to the 8 different spatial positions determined by the 8 trigrams and the Chimen Duanjia. Gate of opening, gate of rest, gate of life, gate of pain, gate of limit, gate of you, gate of surprise, gate of death. The first life, the second life, the third life, the fourth life, the fifth life, wandering soul, returning soul. Du Xiaofu's eyes suddenly lit up. He seemed very excited, as if he had found something in common. He immediately immersed himself in comprehension again. The 8 talismans on his body were constantly deducing, arranging, and deriving. Gantian, Kurindi, Zhenlei, Sunfeng, Qinshui, Li Hua, Jinshan, Duize. Du Xiaofu muttered. The 8 ancient talismans arranged themselves in a mysterious manner around his body. They were connected in a mysterious arc, distorting the void. Tianfeng Go, Luo Shui, Hua Hua, Hua Hua, Lei Diyu, Feng Tian Xiao, Water Luan Jie, Shanhua Bin, Lei Fu. As Du Xiaofu's hand seals condensed at the same time, the 8 ancient talismans changed. Some talismans were shining with golden light, some were shining with white light, some were spreading with lightning, some were misty, some were rising with raging flames, and some were whistling with strong winds. Several months had passed since the opening of the divine domain. On the Qinhuang mainland, there were still people being sent out by the life-saving talismans every day. However, as time passed, fewer and fewer people were sent out by the life-saving talismans. The experts on the Qinhuang mainland knew that the reason why fewer people were sent out by the life-saving talismans was not because the dangers in the divine domain were decreasing. Instead, it was because most of the people had already lost their life-saving talismans. Once they were in danger, they might really die in the divine domain. The desolate country is going to prosper. Du Yunlong and Yi Piaoling have achieved nirvana. Just in the desolate country alone, there are already a few nirvana supremes. I'm afraid no one can stop the desolate country from prospering. The news of Yi Piaoling and Du Yunlong achieving nirvana in the divine domain had already been spread out. It had also shaken the world. The desolate country, which was not big, already had a few nirvana supremes. Such a lineup could not help but move the major forces around. It's said that Du Yunlong, Yi Piaoling, Du Xiaoyao, Du Xiaoqing, Little Tiger, and some Purple Dragon Emperor are leading the younger generation of the desolate country. They are wantonly dealing with the legalism, dragons, and school of vertical and horizontal. Not only that, there are also the school of yin-yang, school of Mo, and the school of farmers supporting them. In short, the legalism, school of vertical and horizontal and dragons are probably regretting their actions. The people on the Chunhuang mainland waited quietly. From time to time, there would be discussions to pass the time. It did not take long for the people on the Chunhuang mainland to get hold of the various news in the divine domain. There were constantly people being sent out by the life-saving talismans, and they would bring out all kinds of news. Some people had obtained ancient inheritances, some people had obtained treasures, and so on. All of these were enough to make the experts outside the divine domain excited. Recently, there hasn't been any news of the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, going on a killing spree. I'm really not used to it. An expert on the Chunhuang mainland spoke. It had been a long time since there had been news of the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, and he missed him very much. It's better if there isn't any news of the Demon King. The last time, the Demon King alone had already killed half of the legalism. He had also killed several descendants of the true dragons and 2 supremes. If there's any more news, I'm afraid the legalism, school of vertical and horizontal and dragons will have no one left in the divine domain. An expert snickered. Humph. Hearing the discussions around them, Qin Tianshi, Li Chunfa, Gong Sunhua, Long Tang, and the others' faces were extremely gloomy. In the divine domain, in the dense primordial forest, the dense fog that had affected the primordial spirit and celestial qi was dissipating one after another. However, the fog did not dissipate too quickly. The primordial forest had been covered by the fog for at least 10,000 years. It would probably take a few more years for the fog to completely dissipate. Above the abyss, Dongli Qingqing sat cross-legged, her eyes closed as she rested. Whoosh! At some point in time, dazzling ancient runes appeared in the surrounding fog. They poured down like a rain of light and gathered above the abyss. The dazzling light, accompanied by the fog that could not be dispersed, was like a dream or a fantasy. The woman surnamed Su, Yunmu, Dalan, and Xiaolan, who were resting with their eyes closed, were startled awake. They all looked towards Dongli Qingqing. The dreamy rain of light enveloped Dongli Qingqing. Dongli Qingqing opened her eyes. A misty light appeared in her palm, exuding a boundless aura. She recognized that the ancient rune light rain was related to Du Xiaofu. At this moment, it was connected to the primordial space, becoming one with it. It was extremely mysterious. It's him who caused the commotion. It's only been a day. He should have improved, Dongli Qingqing murmured softly, a smile on her face. Swish, at the same time, the primordial space spiraled out from Dongli Qingqing's palm, releasing a misty light. A boundless aura spread out, and even space began to distort, giving off an illusory feeling. Then, a purple-robed figure stepped out from within, his body wrapped in 8 resplendent runes. When Du Xiaofu's figure stepped out, his body was also wrapped in 8 dazzling ancient runes. He quietly stood in the abyss with his eyes tightly shut. Runes of various colors, each containing different types of energy, continuously surged from the void. Walala! The entire space trembled as the mist surged in the surroundings. The ancient runes constantly arranged themselves and grew, wrapping around Du Xiaofu's body. They surged into Du Xiaofu's body with 8 types of energy, continuing to cleanse Du Xiaofu's body and forge his soul. The aura on Du Xiaofu's body began to grow stronger. What a strange presence. What's wrong with him? The Demon King, Du Xiaofu's presence is rising. Don't tell me he's about to break through? Big Lan and Little Lan both cried out softly. The presence that permeated the surroundings made them tremble, making them feel pressured for no reason. Walala! The 8 ancient runes evolved, grew, and rearranged themselves, repeating the cycle again and again. He didn't know when, but an unfamiliar energy aura began to draw closer and closer in the void. The unfamiliar presence of energy was difficult to detect. It would flicker from time to time, but it would vanish in an instant. Has he really pried into my true self? Dongli Qingqing stared at the tall figure in the sky. Her azure eyes rippled, flickering with ripples. Although Dongli Qingqing had already reached the level of nirvanic rebirth, everyone's true self was different, and everyone's path was different as well. She was unable to understand. However, Dongli Qingqing could also sense that perhaps he had already pried into his true self. Regardless of the final outcome of this secluded cultivation, it was enough for him to take another huge step forward and ascend to a more substantial level. Chapter 1646. At this moment, Du Xiaofu seemed to be oblivious to everything around him. His mind was completely immersed in some kind of comprehension. After entering the space of the God domain, Du Xiaofu had been immersed in comprehending the life-saving talisman. He had comprehended the life-saving talisman and also the 8 ancient runes. He tried again and again, but failed again and again. However, Du Xiaofu continued to comprehend time and time again. To Du Xiaofu, this kind of comprehension was somewhat illusory and unfamiliar, but he could feel its existence. It was like air. It could not be seen or touched, but it truly existed. Walala. The 8 runes alternated and changed according to the arrangement of the 8 runes. At times, there were 64 runes, and at other times, there were 8 runes. This caused the surrounding space to change. It was as if everything in the universe was changing at the same time. Du Xiaofu was immersed in it. He was deducing and comprehending. A rain of light poured down, and the ancient runes flickered. The unfamiliar aura around Du Xiaofu became thicker and thicker, lingering in the void. As time passed, the aura that emanated from Du Xiaofu's body also gradually increased. Waves of energy rippled out from Du Xiaofu, bringing with them the dazzling radiance of ancient runes. They were like waves of light as they spread out from Du Xiaofu's surroundings. There was even a faint rustling sound. The unfamiliar energy also began to follow Du Xiaofu's aura and endlessly enter his body. In the end, the 8 ancient runes lingered around Du Xiaofu, turning into an octagonal pattern that was neither round nor square. This octagonal pattern seemed a little illusory as it enveloped Du Xiaofu's body and slowly filled the surrounding void. Lightning filled the air, mist filled the air, blazing flames rose, and violent winds howled. There were a myriad of changes. Du Xiaofu's aura continued to rise, and the unfamiliar aura of heaven and earth around him became thicker and thicker. 2 days quietly passed while he was comprehending. What exactly is he doing? Big Lon, Little Lon, and the woman surnamed Su were watching from afar, their eyes rippling. He's ascending. He must have comprehended a great benefit, the woman surnamed Su said. The ancient cave was surrounded by faint lightning bolts. Boom! Suddenly, on this day, dark clouds silently surged out from this area of the sky. Winds rose and clouds surged before lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, and a strand of boundless might seeped out from above the 9 heavens. In the sky, a tall and straight figure quietly appeared. Lightning radiated from his body and covered his entire body. Purple electric arcs rippled from his body and carried a murderous aura. It was a handsome middle-aged man. His hair fluttered in the wind, and his eyes were slightly closed. His face was strong and handsome, and he gave off a powerful and domineering feeling. A terrifying and powerful aura spread out from his body. What happened? At this moment, the living beings within a radius of thousands of miles were also affected. They watched from afar, and then figures were attracted over like bolts of lightning. In the sky, above the head of the handsome middle-aged man, there was a divine ring that resembled a divine fire. It was filled with heavenly might. 1 ring, 2 rings, all the way until the 8th ring. When the 9th ring slowly formed above his head, a golden beam of light came from above the 9 heavens and enveloped his body. Rumble. At this moment, the heavenly sound rumbled and resounded in all directions. The handsome middle-aged man was dazzling with lightning. He was absorbing the power of heaven and earth from the golden beam of light. He was refining his body and refining his primordial spirit. Rumble. In the sky, the mighty thunderclouds were still gathering, causing the surroundings to be dark. It made people's hearts tremble. Crackle. Finally, the dazzling bolts of lightning began to descend from the thunderclouds. It was as if a thunderstorm had begun to descend. When this thunderstorm descended, it shone in all directions and could pierce through space. The vast power was like destruction, but it did not destroy everything. Instead, it turned into mysterious runes and formed a mysterious force that rushed in all directions. That's a grand supreme nirvana. He's a grand supreme nirvana. Supreme thunderstorm, this is a great opportunity. Don't miss it. Yes, this is an opportunity bestowed by the heavens. Someone recognized the supreme thunderbolt rain and immediately rushed out, fighting for the best position so that the supreme thunderbolt rain could enter their bodies. Roar. There were also demonic beasts that roared and immediately transformed into their true forms and rushed into the supreme thunderstorm. In an instant, the world was in an uproar. The handsome young man stepped on the void, his entire body connected to the golden beam of light. He was dazzling and filled with lightning. A supreme being was in the sky. Boom! The rain of light poured down, and the sky above the abyss that was filled with ancient runes suddenly trembled. What's happening? At the same time, Big Lon and Little Lon cried out in surprise, their eyes filled with shock. At this moment, they saw the abyss rise into the sky. The sea of clouds churned, and the thick fog fluctuated. From above the 9 heavens, a dazzling light descended like a sun. This dazzling light was accompanied by an extremely vast aura that spread out from above the void and spread throughout the entire divine realm. Walala! The light shone like holy light, pouring down from the heavens. An endless and unfamiliar aura spread out. There was no thunder and lightning, no endless heavenly music. There was only holy light that shrouded the entire void. There was not much sound, but it made one's soul tremble. The holy light enveloped Du Xiaofu, and the two were connected, becoming one. At this moment, the 8 runes around Du Xiaofu turned into 64 ancient runes, completely forming an octagonal pattern that seemed to have materialized. The horizontal surface of the pattern appeared above the void. The octagonal pattern formed, and on it were wind, rain, thunder, lightning, mountains, rivers, and stars. They rotated and alternated with each other. There were also countless beasts that leaped from the pattern, roaring silently. Rumble. At this moment, when the octagonal pattern was formed, the entire space of the divine domain trembled violently. At this moment, all the living beings in the space of the God domain were greatly affected. Boom! An invisible energy shot up from the octagonal pattern, resonating with the holy light that descended from above the 9 heavens. At this moment, the pressure of the world rippled in the void of the abyss. That pressure can't be resisted. In the distance, Yunmu, Dalon, Xiaolon, and the woman surnamed Su felt their bodies go limp under this soundless pressure. They couldn't help themselves and directly knelt down on one knee. Their eyes were filled with shock, and even their origin spirits were trembling. The invisible pressure descended silently, like the wind and clouds, but it just so happened that they had no chance to resist at all. They had to bow down in worship and reverence from the depths of their souls. Otherwise, they would be crushed by the might of the heavens. At this moment, the 7 divine rings of fire appeared above Dongli Qingqing's head. Under the pressure of the invisible holy light, the divine rings lost their luster and dimmed, and her body trembled. This is the might of the heavens. At this moment, Dongli Qingqing's eyes trembled violently, and a dazzling green light shot up into the sky. She could no longer suppress the trembling in her heart, and even the hairs on her body stood on end. Everything was silent, but at this moment, on the Chenhuang mainland, and even above the Kyushu, the 4 seas, the Yao realm, and the Beast region, above the heavens, under the astonished gazes of billions of living beings, a mysterious octagonal pattern quietly appeared in the firmament. When the octagonal pattern appeared in the void, there were wind, rain, thunder, lightning, mountains, rivers, and the sun, the moon, and the stars, all of which rotated and intersected with each other. There were also countless beasts leaping from the pattern, roaring soundlessly, whoosh, at the same time. Holy light descended from the 9 heavens and poured down on the world. These past 2 days, I've been updating later and later, so I want to take this opportunity to adjust my sleep. I'll finish updating today. Chapter 1647. When the holy light shone upon the world, the octagonal pattern appeared in the sky. At that moment, there was a dark place where dark clouds covered the sun and moon. Suddenly, a huge crack appeared in the rolling dark clouds. In the crack, light shone, and finally, a pair of huge eyes appeared. As the pair of huge eyes appeared, evil aura came from all directions. Evil aura whistled like a gale, and black fog filled the sky. It was just a pair of eyes, but it seemed to be the most evil thing in the world. The dark golden eyes were lifeless, but as the eyes opened in the sky, lightning flashed and thunder roared. The pair of eyes looked at the void, and there was a puzzled look in its eyes. Then, it disappeared. Between heaven and earth, a palace floated in mid-air. There was nothing holding it up, and it was like a miracle. Outside the palace, a middle-aged man stood with his hands behind his back. The plain robe on his body could not hide his ethereal aura, as if he was the ruler of this world. It has come to this step. Maybe there is a chance to succeed. The middle-aged man looked up into the sky and murmured softly. The holy light shone, and the octagonal pattern disappeared in an instant. Heaven and earth are changing, and there is a strange phenomenon in the sky. At the same time, there were ancient shadows in the void above many secret places in this world, and they were calculating with their fingers. That is the saint's aura. Could it be that someone has taken that step and is becoming a saint? The ancient shadows were shocked. Everything that happened was blocked by heaven and earth, and was blocked by the laws. Even they could not calculate it. However, they felt the saint's aura, and their expressions changed. The appearance of the saint's aura was a shocking matter since ancient times. What is that? The saint's aura is descending. Could it be that someone is becoming a saint? On the Chunhuang mainland, countless experts were stunned as well. All of them could feel an immense pressure that caused their hearts to tremble. The octagonal pattern appeared strangely, and there was a strange phenomenon in the sky. Holy light shone, but it only lasted for a moment, and then it disappeared between heaven and earth. Everything disappeared in an instant. Countless experts looked up at the void, and it took them a long time to come back to their senses. That is indeed the saint's aura, but it is not to be underestimated, the old lady said, her eyes glowing with golden light. In the sky above the abyss, holy light shone brightly, as if covering the sky and the sun. The octagonal diagram in the air gave rise to strange phenomena, and light surged out. That strange octagonal pattern had edges and corners and was all-encompassing. Du Xiaofu stood at the center of the 64 ancient runes that were formed from the 8 ancient runes. The ancient runes around him rippled and merged with the holy light of the void, as if they were connected to heaven and earth. Looking from afar, Du Xiaofu stood in the center of the octagonal pattern with his eyes closed. Holy light rippled around him like a miracle, but soon after, the octagonal diagram disappeared along with the strange phenomenon. Only the 8 ancient symbols and the surrounding sacred light continued to revolve around Du Xiaofu. However, the tremors in the surroundings grew more and more intense. The woman surnamed Su, Yunmu, Dalan, and Xiaolan's aura dissipated, and they looked up at the void. It was not difficult for them to feel that within the radiant holy light, there was a continuous stream of rich energy seeping out from heaven and earth. Then, it continuously surged into Du Xiaofu's body. That energy was surging, and the energy fluctuations that faintly permeated the air made one's heart tremble. All of this did not last long before quietly dispersing. The holy light and the 8 ancient symbols in the void also dissipated in the end. The surroundings of the abyss returned to normal. Only the woman surnamed Su, Dalan, and Xiaolan were left staring blankly at the tall young man in the void. They had yet to recover from their shock. A moment later, in the quiet void, a majestic aura, like a ferocious beast that had just awakened, suddenly swept out from Du Xiaofu's body along with boundless golden light. Boom! This aura carried the sound of wind and thunder, and it instantly rippled violently. The golden light and energy ripples violently swept out in all directions, emitting a deafening rumbling sound. Screech! A screech rang out, and the void trembled. From within the golden light, the enormous body of a golden-winged roc appeared in the sky. Its wings were spread out, and its entire body was glistening with golden light. Its ferocious aura spread out, causing the entire space to tremble. Screech! At this moment, the clouds were also trembling and screeching. In the surrounding earth, countless cloud-devouring wolves and shrews were letting out sharp screeches. The enormous golden-winged rock's body appeared in the sky, emitting purple-gold lightning. In the surrounding void, the strange octagonal pattern was faintly discernible. The terrifying aura seemed to cause the surrounding void to fall. What a terrifying aura! It's a world of difference compared to before. It's enough to crush people. Dalan and Xiaolan were trembling. They were unable to withstand the terrifying aura, and they fell to their knees again. They were worshipping a supreme being. He should have broken through again. The woman surnamed Su was dumbfounded. She was stunned. The Demon King was at the Nirvana stage of the Grand Supreme Nirvana stage. Now that he had broken through again, he should have reached the Nirvana stage of the Nirvana stage. True Self-Nirvana was equivalent to the Grand Domain Realm, but it was something that the Grand Domain Realm couldn't compare to. At the level of Nirvana, generally speaking, even the most talented human Venerable Realm cultivator would be hindered and find it difficult to progress further when he reached this level of cultivation. However, Du Xiaofu had casually broken through. If this news were to spread, it would be shocking. Nirvana of True Self. He really succeeded. Dongli Qingqing's eyes glowed with green light. A smile appeared on her shocked face. The shadow of the golden-winged rock was in the air, but it soon dissipated, leaving Du Xiaofu in the air. His battle robes fluttered in the wind, making him look like a peerless, ferocious beast in human form. His aura spread across the endless sky, and the majestic aura that faintly emanated from his body could cause the world to tremble. What is he doing? He can't have gone berserk, right? Xiaolan looked at Du Xiaofu, who had once again sunk into silence, and asked softly. At this moment, Du Xiaofu did not go berserk. Instead, he was peering into his own body. Everything in his body caused Du Xiaofu to be fiercely shocked. Du Xiaofu was shocked to discover that within his majestic divine watchtower, the vast and boundless profound Qi was even more terrifying than before. Compared to before, it was like the difference between heaven and earth. The purple lightning profound cauldron and the purple gold heavenly palace were currently wrapped in profound Qi. Strictly speaking, an octagonal pattern had appeared within Du Xiaofu's divine watchtower. It was the octagonal pattern formed by the 8 ancient runes. The purple lightning profound cauldron and the purple gold heavenly palace were also wrapped within the octagonal pattern. Not only was the octagonal pattern rotating within the divine watchtower, it was also connected to the body and the primordial spirit. Only Du Xiaofu knew this feeling the best. It made him feel incomparably comfortable. The octagonal pattern was all-encompassing and contained a myriad of things. It slowly rotated and could give birth to endless changes. This consort has lived 1 life, 2 lives, 3 lives, 4 lives, 5 lives, wandering soul, returning soul, heaven, earth, thunder, wind, water, fire, Jin Mountain, Duiz. This is the 8 trigrams diagram. Du Xiaofu's heart trembled with excitement and was overjoyed. At this moment, the 8 ancient talisman symbols that he had comprehended from the life preservation talisman had finally advanced a step further under his comprehension and transformed into the 8 trigrams. The 8 trigrams diagram came from the heavens and earth and contained many mysteries. However, at this moment, he had comprehended it and turned it from an invisible form into a tangible form in his hands. Boom! At this moment, Du Xiaofu suddenly opened his eyes. Golden light shot out from his eyes and lightning surged. It shot straight into the sky and shook the surrounding space before slowly calming down. The invisible is the tangible. The 8 trigrams reveal the true self. The light in Du Xiaofu's eyes retracted as he stood in the air. He had comprehended the 8 trigrams diagram and had never thought that he would take the opportunity to step into the Nirvana realm. The profound Qi within the divine watchtower in his body had surged to an absolutely vast level. The primordial spirit's body in his mind, under the baptism of the energy of the heavens and earth, also rose once again and became even more vigorous. Feeling his current strength, Du Xiaofu's heart couldn't help but tremble. He could feel that compared to before, there was a world of difference. More importantly, it was the increase in the Nirvana realm. One nirvana realm was one heavenly layer. However, at the nirvana realm, if one wanted to break through, the most important thing was to comprehend it to a higher level. The power of the heavens and earth was enough to crush everything that was lacking. Chapter 1648. It's fine. He doesn't seem to have gone mad, Xiaolan said, feeling relieved. Du Xiaofu was still standing in the void, his body rippling with radiance. With a thought, ancient runes rippled around his body, which then transformed into an 8 trigrams diagram that enveloped him. This was no longer the 8 ancient runes, but a true 8 trigrams diagram. Qin, Kurin, Zhan, Sun, Kan, Li, Jin, and Dui. The 8 directions connected with each other and transformed into a resplendent divine ring, making Du Xiaofu look like a divine spirit in the sky. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's black hair scattered behind his head. His body was sparkling and translucent, and his body was covered with purple arcs of electricity, revealing a purple-gold color. That was the manifestation of the indestructible Xian body. The golden-winged Great Peng race had refined the divine body to the true Peng realm. Coupled with the 8 trigrams divine ring around his body, the formless aura made people tremble in fear. What a strange feeling. It's fiercer than a heaven's chosen, gentler than a supreme being, but its aura surpasses that of a heaven's chosen and a supreme being. Dalan said. She could feel the aura emanating from the purple-robed man's body, which was released into the world. It no longer made people want to kneel down, but was indescribably comfortable. At this moment, she even felt that if she could cultivate by the Demon King's side, she would be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. He's different. The woman surnamed Su was also surprised and shocked. Everyone could feel that the Demon King was different from the rest. The light was brilliant, and the pressure was quietly released into the world. That kind of pressure was like the water in the sea, able to bear everything. When the wind was calm and the waves were calm, it made people yearn for it. The heart was vast, and it could nourish all things. But if it was a violent storm, it would create stormy waves that would destroy everything. The true self he found is different. It's vast, too vast. Dongli Qingqing said softly. She could feel a kind of vast aura from the 8 trigrams diagram, as if it contained all things in the world. Compared to it, her true self was like a magician in front of a magician. From the 8 trigrams diagram, Dongli Qingqing could also clearly feel the incomparably domineering aura of the golden-winged Great Peng, as well as the aura of thunder that could kill the world. Walala, Du Xiaofu formed the 8 trigrams diagram, which lingered in the air. Upon closer inspection, there were 64 positions in the surroundings, which converged to form a diagram that was incomparably complex and profound. The place where Du Xiaofu was at was like a concentrated point. In the 8 main positions, strands of natural energy were gathering and surging towards his body. They could nourish his body and warm his primordial spirit, flowing endlessly. It's so comfortable. It's endless, as if it's inexhaustible. Du Xiaofu was shocked and puzzled. Within his 8 trigrams, his physical strength and primordial spirit strength were endless. Within the 8 trigrams, it was like he was in his own world. He could control everything. This feeling was similar to when a cultivator at the martial domain realm released his ultimacy and enveloped the void with his own domain realm. Within one's own domain, everything was under one's control. Among the domain realm experts, there were initial domain, sealed domain, great domain, bounded domain, and so on. Every increase in domain realm meant an increase in one's comprehension of ultimacy and comprehension of heaven and earth. The power one could control would also be greater. It could be said that a domain was also a heaven. However, Du Xiaofu felt that his 8 trigrams diagram was obviously more complex and profound than those of the domain realm experts and other supreme nirvana realm experts. The 8 trigrams diagram could connect heaven and earth and contain all things. It was like a small world, or even a small universe. I'm looking forward to this battle, Du Xiaofu said. The 8 trigrams diagram disappeared from his body. His eyes were suffused with a purple-gold light. At the same time, fluctuations began to appear in the desolate ancient space not far from Dongli Qingqing. Then, 9 figures flew out. They were the successor of the Great Snow Mountain, Lian Qingrong, and her 8 maidservants. Du Xiaofu had broken through and reached the Nirvana realm in 2 days. Adding the 10 days in the desolate ancient space, Lian Qingrong had been in the desolate ancient space for exactly 1 month. At this moment, Lian Qingrong was in the sky. White light surged around her like a white sun. Ice and snow filled the sky and shrouded the abyss. Lian Qingrong had been severely injured for only 1 month. At this moment, it seemed that Lian Qingrong had completely recovered, which was both shocking and astonishing. 1 month's time is up. Fight, Du Xiaofu said. His battle robe fluttered. At this moment, his eyes were filled with fighting spirit. He was looking forward to this battle to verify the results of his comprehension. Fight. Lian Qingrong's eyes were filled with white snow. She looked at Du Xiaofu. At this moment, she suddenly felt a kind of vast aura. It seemed that this kid had changed again in a short time. It was as if he had ascended again. Fight. However, Lian Qingrong was not afraid. She had never been afraid. In an instant, her fighting spirit surged. In the depths of her eyes, there seemed to be glaciers moving. On her white battle robe, there were some runes that swept out. It was as if white snow was falling from the void around her. Her whole body's aura began to flourish. Whoosh whoosh. At this moment, the 8th maidservant's face was rosy. After a month of recuperation, she had recovered a lot. At this moment, her beautiful figure was continuously retreating. They had already seen the battle between her master and the Demon King. With their cultivation and strength, even if they joined forces, they would not be affected at all. Putting everything aside, the Demon King was indeed incomparably terrifying. Let's start. You shall submit. A purplish golden light flowed in Du Xiaofu's eyes. She stretched out her hand. Resplendent purple flames rolled out, turning into a gigantic purple flame demonic phoenix in the air. It swept towards Lian Qingrong. The blazing aura that filled the sky whistled. It could destroy everything. With Du Xiaofu's current cultivation, the purple flame demonic phoenix's terrifying blazing aura was accompanied by the supreme beast's aura. Purple flames rolled out, dazzling and shocking. It was as if a gigantic purple flame demonic phoenix had been born. It was incomparably real. Its power was completely different from before. Lian Qingrong's expression changed. She could feel the former's tyrannical strength. She exerted all her strength. An ice dragon was like a living creature. It roared and collided with the former. The battle between the dragon and the phoenix created a blazing hot and icy cold battle. The surrounding void exploded and collapsed. The entire abyss was trembling violently. Ice dragon battles the sky. Lian Qingrong exerted all her strength. She directly activated her martial veins and covered her body. It was as if she was wearing a battle armor. An ice dragon circled around her body, crossing the void. Her fist was like a dragon coming out from the deep sea. The cold ice covered the void. The white runes were like white snow pouring down, bright and dazzling. Rock chaos shattering claw. Du Xiaofu attacked. His body was covered with thunder veins. In an instant, lightning flashed and thunder roared. Purple lightning raged. He stretched out one of his claws, which tore the void apart, revealing 5 pitch-black space cracks. Lightning and golden light surged. It was as if a purple golden rock had flapped its wings and soared into the sky. It was as if a purple golden rock had appeared. The two of them attacked. At this moment, there was no testing at all. They already had a certain understanding of each other. They attacked with all their strength. And in this battle, Lian Qingrong went all out without holding back. She could not lose. Du Xiaofu did not think of losing. He had already stepped into the Nirvana realm. At the same cultivation level, he could crush everything. Qila. The claw print collided with the cold ice. The golden-winged rock collided with the ice dragon. It was torn apart in an instant. The ice dragon showed fear in its eyes. After a short stalemate, it was already vulnerable. Dang dang. The purple-gold thunderclaw print scratched the martial veins and talismans on Lian Qingrong's body. Her body was directly shaken back. Her eyes, which were like moving glaciers, were suddenly filled with horror. Qi. With the rock traveling 10,000 miles and the wave-like free steps, Du Xiaofu's figure quickly arrived in front of Lin Qingrong, who was shaken back. Accompanied by the roar of the void, lightning flashed and thunder roared. His momentum was incomparably overbearing, looking down on everything. Howl! The roar of the dragon and the roar of the elephant came out. Du Xiaofu's overbearing fist wave blasted out. The surrounding void collapsed in a straight line. The fist fell on Lin Qingrong's body with an overbearing momentum. The terrifying energy turned into ripples of strength, qi, and talismans, like stormy waves, suddenly swept out in the void. Bang, bang, bang. The monstrous energy burst out in an instant. Waves of extremely terrifying energy storms blew up the surrounding abyss rocks. The cliffs shook and collapsed. The rock walls cracked and spread, and the earth showed a ravine as if it was destroyed. Bang! Lin Qingrong's body was directly blasted into the abyss rock wall. Young master. The 8 maidservants were shocked. She was blown away after just one exchange of blows. They had never seen their young master in such a sorry state. Rumble. Lightning flashed and thunder roared. Inside the abyss rock wall, there was a divine light sweeping out. The rocks exploded. In an instant, the entire abyss trembled and collapsed. The visual impact was shocking. 6 divine rings were in the sky. Lin Qingrong's figure rose from the collapsed abyss rock wall, shining brightly in the sky. How could he be so strong? Lin Qingrong's face changed color. She looked at Du Xiaofu in disbelief. She really felt the former strength. It had only been a short month since she was healed, but he was completely different from before. Could it be that you only have this little bit of strength? If that's the case, then you should surrender earlier, Du Xiaofu said with a smile in his eyes. At this moment, he felt as if he could move mountains and overturn seas with a raise of his hand. It made his whole body feel indescribably comfortable. Lin Qingrong did not say anything. Her eyes were cold. She waved her hand, and the supreme power was condensing. Immediately, the cold energy rose sharply and pierced through the sky. Her entire body was covered in snow-white symbols. She used the supreme power and everything she comprehended to form a supreme fist. At this moment, Lin Qingrong's hair danced in the wind. The hair in her head also turned snow-white. Her figure took to the sky and blasted out a fist. That rolling cold energy and supreme power surged like a tide, turning the void into a pitch-black void. That fist was incomparably dazzling and suddenly appeared on Du Xiaofu's chest. Boom! This fist exploded and directly crushed Du Xiaofu's chest. The supreme power poured out in torrents and was incomparably vast. Bang, 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 bang. That terrifying power swept out. The void behind Du Xiaofu's body exploded and collapsed. Chapter 1649. Zizi. The purple-gold electric arcs on Du Xiaofu's body were surging. His body was pushed back a step by Lin Qingrong's fist, but his foot stomped on the void behind him. The void under his foot was immediately frozen, and he immediately stabilized his body. But Du Xiaofu was unaffected. Electric arcs were still fluctuating on his body. His body was translucent, revealing a faint purple-gold color. His eyes were filled with a faint smile, and the corner of his mouth was curled into a smile that was not a smile. How can he be so strong? Lin Qingrong was shocked, and his eyes trembled fiercely. Not good. In the next moment, when Du Xiaofu's mouth curled into a smile that was not a smile, Lin Qingrong's expression suddenly changed, and his figure rapidly retreated. But it was too late. Du Xiaofu's figure rushed out, and his fist had already landed in a flash. Bang! A muffled sound like thunder resounded on Lin Qingrong's body. Lightning surged, golden light exploded, and the void behind Lin Qingrong's body continuously exploded. But Lin Qingrong was unable to remain unscathed like Du Xiaofu. The runes on his body were shattering, and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Ice Skystorm Fist. Ice-shattering mountain foot. Lin Qingrong was not a weakling. He was one of the few experts in the entire divine domain. At this moment, he knew what was best for him. He did not care about the injuries on his body and did not continue to retreat. Instead, he forcefully counterattacked with all his strength. Rumble. Fists rained down on Du Xiaofu like torrential rain. Footprints could shatter the void. Along with the terrifying ice chi that could freeze the void, Lian Qing's attacks landed on Du Xiaofu's body one after another. He did not believe that his opponent's body had reached the point of being indestructible. This was a true confrontation of strength, and he was going all out. The supreme power surged, and Lian Qingrong's comprehension condensed. His attack was fierce and violent, and it was earth-shattering. Come on. Du Xiaofu did not advance, and instead retreated. Using the immortal Xian body to fight against the golden-winged rock's divine body was the best defense. At the same time, one punch for another, one kick for another, Du Xiaofu fought in the most direct and barbaric way. With their cultivation and strength, the speed of the battle was as fast as lightning. In an instant, they had collided dozens of times in succession. The void collapsed, and a large number of energy runes swept out. The surrounding abysses exploded one after another, and crushed stones were swept up into the sky. This scene was too terrifying. Everything was razed to the ground. Everything was destroyed. Everything was sealed in ice for 10,000 li, its aura devouring mountains and rivers. Rumble. In the blink of an eye, the two of them collided with each other. In the end, they were stuck together like gangsters fighting. They shattered the void and scattered the clouds. The two of them fell into the abyss together from midair and rushed out again as the rocks turned into powder. They crashed into the rock walls and the towering trees and peaks in the distance. They fought until the sky turned dark, and it was difficult to tell who had the upper hand. In the distance, Lady Su, Big Lon, Little Lon, Yun Mu, and the others were already trembling with fear, their faces filled with shock. The 8 maidservants were even more shocked. Not long ago, they had seen with their own eyes that when facing their young master, that demon king Du Xiaofu could only contend for the sake of the child and was suppressed to a disadvantageous position. But they didn't expect that not long after, their young master was already completely suppressed. At this moment, their young master had already used his supreme power, and that demon king hadn't used his supreme power yet. This also meant that their young master had already used his full strength, and that demon king Du Xiaofu hadn't used his full strength, yet he was still suppressing their young master. This reversal was too fast. Rumble. The abyss collapsed, and the two of them rushed out again from the shattered rocks. PFFF, PFFF, in midair. Lian Qingrong spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face was filled with shock, and she retreated rapidly, wanting to shake off Du Xiaofu. Bang, bang, bang. In midair, Du Xiaofu followed her like a shadow. Under rock of 10,000 miles and rippling carefree steps, his speed was enough to crush the former. Several consecutive fist prints rushed out again, directly blasting the former from midair into the abyss. Not good, young master is no match. Seeing this scene, the 8 maidservants' complexion turned pale, and their delicate bodies trembled. When Lian Qingrong rushed out from the collapsed abyss again, her hair was disheveled, her white battle robe was ragged, and the corners of her mouth were stained with blood. Her complexion had completely changed, and her eyes seemed to have a sky full of snow pouring down and glaciers moving. Nirvana of true self. At this moment, Lian Qingrong finally knew that Du Xiaofu had stepped into the nirvana of true self, but she really couldn't understand why that guy could easily break through in such a short time. The speed of the breakthrough made her feel shocked. What made Lian Qingrong even more shocked was the former strength. Originally, she had thought that perhaps she couldn't deal with that guy at the same level. But now, that guy had just stepped into the nirvana of true self, and she was already at the peak of nirvana of true self, but the result was that she had been firmly suppressed. To put it bluntly, she was simply being trampled. Such a result proved that it could make her heart tremble. Du Xiaofu stepped into the air, looking at Lian Qingrong. At this moment, there were some traces of blood on the corners of his mouth, but compared to Lian Qingrong, it was unknown how much better he looked. It's really comfortable. My whole body is comfortable. Du Xiaofu stretched, and the surging Xin Qi in the divine watchtower was released. Although he had suffered heavy blows repeatedly, it didn't affect the immortal Xian body greatly. Instead, after the soreness, his whole body was indescribably comfortable. Is this the power of nirvana of true self? Du Xiaofu clenched his fists slightly. The feeling of being able to move a vast amount of power with just a raise of his hand was a great temptation to cultivators. Lien Qingrong looked at Du Xiaofu and said, in such a short time, you have already stepped into the nirvana of true self. You really surprised me. At the same level, you will no longer be my opponent. Surrender. With your talent, with your identity as the successor of the Great Snow Mountain, I will not wrong you. This is my promise to you, and also my respect for the Great Snow Mountain. If there is a chance in the future, I will definitely help the Great Snow Mountain to reappear in the world. Du Xiaofu said seriously. This was his respect for the Great Snow Mountain, and for Lien Qingrong herself, with her talent, she should also be valued. Lien Qingrong's eyes moved, and she seemed a little surprised, but then she smiled faintly. Even if she was incomparably embarrassed at this moment, she was still so proud and majestic. She said softly, you are very strong, and have exceeded my expectations time and time again. You have surprised me, but if you want to really do something to me, I'm afraid it's still not certain. Puff. When her voice fell, Lien Qingrong's hand seals changed rapidly, accompanied by a mouthful of blood essence from her mouth, and intertwined with the mysterious runes on her body. Boom! In an instant, the aura in Lien Qingrong's body skyrocketed. Under many surprised gazes, the mysterious runes on Lien Qingrong's body changed, like snow swirling in the sky, and above the void, instantly turned into a huge snow mountain giant. The snow mountain giant stood tall like an iceberg, and a bone-piercing cold aura filled the air, and a terrifying aura shook the void all around. This was a kind of secret technique, and also a terrifying technique. The entire abyss and the strange ancient forest around it also quietly turned into glaciers in an instant, and everywhere was a vast expanse of whiteness. So cold. The sky was full of snow, and everywhere was turned into glaciers. Big lawn, little lawn, and the woman surnamed Su were trembling all over. They used all their strength, but their chi was also unable to stop the terrifying cold aura. Suppress. The snow mountain giant shouted, and the 6 divine rings above its head shone brightly. The cold aura erupted, and its power skyrocketed in an instant, causing the surrounding void to be full of cracks, and suppressed Du Xiaofu. Then you can try the 8 trigrams. Du Xiaofu slightly raised his head, and with a thought, ancient runes suddenly rippled from his body, and then turned into the 8 trigrams in the void around him. When the 8 trigrams appeared, the void suddenly trembled. Qian, Kuren, Zhan, Sun, Kan, Li, Jin, Dui. The 8 directions were connected, and turned into a bright divine ring, spreading out in all directions. Roar. On the 8 trigrams, there were the cries of thousands of beasts, lightning descending, golden-winged rocks flapping their wings, and the evolution of mountains and lakes. Wind, rain, thunder, and lightning alternated. The sun, moon, and stars changed, and the mountains and rivers moved horizontally. When the 8 trigrams appeared and enveloped the surroundings, the 6 divine rings above the huge snow mountain giant's head suddenly began to dim, as if they would be extinguished at any time, not daring to compete. At this moment, the huge snow mountain giant's eyes trembled, as if glaciers were cracking and icebergs were falling. The entire void rippled invisibly, and with Du Xiaofu as the center, the 8 trigrams spread out for thousands of feet. Du Xiaofu was like a holy spirit in the sky, and that invisible aura made people tremble in fear. Upper Kuan and Lower Li, earthly fire bright destruction. Du Xiaofu spoke, and a strange hand seal condensed out. At the same time, the 8 trigrams changed, and a vast pressure appeared in the void. Suddenly, from the void, lightning stars and rolling flames descended, as if they were destructive, enveloping this part of the world. Rumble. The entire void boiled, and the heaven and earth were resonating. The heaven and earth were also vast and turbulent, and the bright runes were like the sea, surging with stormy waves. At this moment, the huge snow mountain giant was crumbling inch by inch under that terrifying power. Puff, puff. Lien Qingrong's figure appeared from the crumbling snow mountain giant, and blood was spurting out of her mouth. The white runes on her body were also crumbling, and her flesh was bleeding profusely. She fell to the broken ground below, and her hair was messy. Her white battle robe was stained with blood, and her eyes were bloodshot. Above the void, Du Xiaofu pointed at Lian Qingrong, and his eyes were purple and gold like lightning. He looked down and said, "You lost." Chapter 1650. Lian Qingrong raised her head and looked at Du Xiaofu. Deep in her eyes, she was at a loss. Even when she met those evildoers of the same generation, she had never been defeated. At most, they were evenly matched. The only way to determine the winner was to fight to the death. But now, the young man in front of her was just a real young man. She was defeated in a very embarrassing way. "Master." The 8 maidservants came to the front of Lian Qingrong, and their faces were a little flustered. "I was indeed defeated." Lian Qingrong's pale face showed a little smile. This kind of smile was bitter and strange, and there was a little loneliness in her eyes. "Remember, you are already my person. If you agree to bet, you must accept defeat. You should surrender." Du Xiaofu's figure fell in front of Lian Qingrong. After his voice fell, he stuffed a few elixirs into his mouth and slowly walked to the side of Dongli Qingqing, looking calm. The level of true self, Dongli Qingqing smiled, but at this moment, there was still a little shock in her eyes. She was very nervous about the battle between him and Lian Qingrong and did not have much confidence. It was not that she did not have confidence in Du Xiaofu, but she was very clear about how strong Lian Qingrong, the successor of the Great Snow Mountain, was. It was not easy to really defeat her. At this moment, she was relieved and shocked by his terrible strength. "The nirvana of true self is the same as you?" Du Xiaofu nodded with satisfaction. The nirvana of true self increased the strength by a lot, and there was a world of difference from the original. Dongli Qingqing smiled helplessly. She knew very well that they were both at the level of true self recently, but the best result for her in front of Lian Qingrong was to not be defeated. Compared with the guy in front of her, she was absolutely not enough. Squeak! In the distance, there were strange squeaks of the cloud-swallowing wolf shrews. "Master, there are many people coming. Do you want me to do it?" Yunmu suddenly came to the side of Du Xiaofu. "There were many people coming here." "It doesn't matter. Let them come. Let's see if there's anyone we know," Du Xiaofu said. Although the thick clouds in the surroundings had been dispersed, the clouds in the distance had yet to disperse, preventing primordial spirits from prying. In this ancient forest, the cloud-swallowing wolves and shrews were much more sensitive than cultivators. Whoosh whoosh. Not long after, many figures flew over, and many vast auras fluctuated. After those figures landed, they began to size up their surroundings. They looked at each other in dismay and were on guard against each other. Du Xiaofu's eyes swept across the area. He did not recognize anyone. They should be cultivators who had lost their way in this ancient forest. The commotion caused by the previous battle must have attracted them here. Who knows how to get out? Step forward, or I won't go easy on you. More than 10 silhouettes descended, glaring at the crowd with ferocious gazes. Judging from their auras, they were all demonic beasts. "We don't know either. We've been lost here for a few days. We still want to go out." Someone spoke up. They were not afraid of those demonic beasts. There were quite a number of human cultivators around as well. "Do you know how to get out? Did you get some treasure just now? You'd better call it out, or else." A leading demonic beast stared at Du Xiaofu, Lian Qingrong, Dongli Qingqing, and the others with ferocious gazes. The threat was self-evident. "You're courting death." Yun Shru was furious. Her eyes were filled with killing intent. She would not be suppressed in here, but those demonic beasts would still be suppressed. They could only reach the beast region. However, those demonic beasts did not know Yun Shru's identity. When they heard her, their auras surged. Ferocious auras swept out, and their ferocious eyes stared at Yun Shru. "Yun Shru, leave some corpses intact. I want to eat meat. I'm tired from the battle just now. I need some nourishment," said Du Xiaofu. "Yes, master." Yun Shru nodded. As soon as she finished speaking, she immediately pounced forward. Bang, bang, bang. Roar. In an instant, the demonic beasts roared. Muffled explosions of energy rang out. However, it did not take long for the huge corpses of over a dozen demonic beasts to be laid across the chasm. They did not even know what kind of existence they had provoked before they were killed by a mere follower. Gulp, gulp. Many figures in the surroundings were stunned. They immediately retreated and gasped, not daring to approach. Sizzle, sizzle. Not long after, the aroma of barbecued meat filled the air. The smell of barbecued meat made one drool. It smells so good, Yun Shru drooled. The expressions in the eyes of Su, Dalan, and Xiao Lan had already betrayed them. However, not far away, Lien Qingrong and the 8 maidservants' expressions did not change much. The successor of the Great Snow Mountain seemed to have not recovered from his defeat. He was in a daze, looking into the distance. The wounds on his body had not been treated. The 8 maidservants followed closely behind him, not daring to say anything. Do as you please. After a while, Du Xiaofu said to Su, Dalan, and Xiaolan. He was already wolfing down the food without holding back. It had been a long time since he had a good meal. Dongli Qingqing was already very familiar with the food and did not hold back. The fairy-like woman was now tainted by the world's smoke and fire. Dalan and Xiaolan looked at Su, drooling. Su also could not hold back. After the 3 women took a small bite, they did not pay much attention to their image. It tastes good. Do you want to try? Du Xiaofu came to Lien Qingrong's side. He gnawed on the barbecued meat hanging from the branch in his hand and handed a piece to Lien Qingrong with one hand. Our young master is not tainted by smoke and fire. It will harm his cultivation. A maidservant said to Du Xiaofu. Her tone was full of hatred, but it was clear that she was also afraid. However, as soon as the maidservant's voice fell, Lien Qingrong looked at Du Xiaofu, who was eating meat with a bitter smile. Then she reached out and took the barbecued meat in Du Xiaofu's hand. She opened her mouth slightly and took a small bite. Her expression immediately changed. The taste is indeed not bad. It would be better if it was accompanied by some wine. Unfortunately, I drank all that I had on me, Du Xiaofu said. Wine. I have some on me. Lien Qingrong reached out and took out a white jade wine jar from her Qinkuan bag. She tore open the seal and the wine fragrance filled the air. It was definitely not an ordinary wine. Du Xiaofu did not hold back. He took it and drank it in large mouthfuls. Then he was surprised. This wine was even better than the one taken out by the rebel father, Jialo Changtian. He said, Good wine. The best wine I have ever tasted. It is ranked second. Impossible. This wine was brewed by the ancestors of my snowy mountain using 10,000 years of snow and a secret recipe. It has been buried underground for at least 5,000 years. In the mortal world, it would be difficult to find an existence that can be compared to this wine. Lien Qingrong was moved. She did not believe that there was wine in the mortal world that could be compared to her wine. In terms of taste, it is indeed number 1. However, for me, the best wine is the wine I drank with my drunkard father. The taste is not much, but it is very tasty. Du Xiaofu looked into the distance with a faint smile on his face. He then handed the wine jar to Lien Qingrong and said, Do you want some too? Lien Qingrong looked at Du Xiaofu, shook her head and said, No need, I still have some. With that, Lien Qingrong took out another jug and drank it in big gulps. The taste is not bad. You can try it. Du Xiaofu turned around and said to the 8 maidservants. The 8 maidservants were moved. The fragrance of the meat was really irresistible. They all looked at Lien Qingrong. Go and try it. The taste is indeed not bad. Lien Qingrong turned around and said to the 8 maidservants, Yes, young master. The 8 maidservants nodded. Only then did they leave. How did you get the divine thunder cauldron? Looking at the back of the 8 maidservants, Lien Qingrong asked Du Xiaofu, If I say that the strongest cultivator gave it to me, would you believe me? Du Xiaofu smiled. Lien Qingrong looked at Du Xiaofu for a while, and then nodded. She said, I believe you. Then you won't feel wronged if you submit to me, Du Xiaofu said. The catastrophe of the world is coming. According to the legend left behind by my master, you must gather the 9 cauldrons in order to have a chance to resist the catastrophe. Otherwise, this world will cease to exist and become a land of demons. Lian Qingrong looked at Du Xiaofu and said, "There are still 8 divine thunder cauldrons whose whereabouts are unknown. You must find them as soon as possible." Du Xiaofu was silent for a while and then asked Lian Qingrong, "Do you know what it means to gather the 9 cauldrons and command the 9 clans?" Chapter 1651. The 9 great families should be the current 9 great families. Yin Yang Zongheng, Nong Imo Mingfa, Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism, and thousands of schools of thought. Only the 9 great families are still in existence. Rumor has it that as long as you gather the 9 great lightning cauldrons, you can command the 9 great families. Lian Qingrong said, "Gather the 9 great lightning cauldrons. You can command the 9 great families." Du Xiaofu's eyes moved. It was not much different from what he had imagined. Command the 9 great families. They were indeed the current 9 great families. I'll submit to you, but I have to make it clear. It's just me, not the Great Snow Mountain. If you want me to humiliate my sect, I'd rather die. Lian Qingrong took a sip of wine with a determined expression. "I understand." Du Xiaofu nodded. Above the Chenhuang mainland, people were still being sent out of the divine dominion by the life-saving talismans as usual. However, the number of people was still decreasing. "Old ancestor, this is bad. We've encountered Du Tingxian. He's killing legalism in there." Those who were brought out of the divine dominion by the life-saving talismans were brought to Li Chunfa, Qin Tianshi, and the other elders. Their eyes were trembling with fear. What did you say? Du Tingxian? Did he recultivate?" Li Chunfa, Qin Tianshi, and the other legalism experts were shocked. Gong Sunhua and many other experts from the school of vertical and horizontal also looked over. Not only did Du Tingxian recultivate, but he's also achieved nirvana of the Grand Sovereign. We're no match for him. The legalism disciple was on the verge of tears. Facing Du Tingxuan's massacre, they were too miserable. He was lucky to have a life-saving talisman. Many people who did not had their life-saving talismans destroyed directly. What? Nirvana of the Grand Sovereign? Nirvana of the true self? Say that again. Li Chunfa's expression changed. He could not believe his ears. Nirvana of the Grand Sovereign? Did Du Tingxian succeed? The school of vertical and horizontal, the dragons, and the experts nearby all had sharp ears. They immediately heard the words, and their expressions changed. "Old ancestor, that Du Tingxian is really a nirvana grand supremacy. It's too terrifying. He has killed many of our people. Many of our protectors and elders have been killed. We are no match for that Du Tingxian. He is on a killing spree, showing no mercy to us. He even threatened to make us pay the price for legalism when he comes out." After being yelled at by Li Chunfa, the legalism disciple was still in a daze. His heart still had lingering fear, and he was on the verge of tears. His entire body was trembling. Du Tingxian, that bastard, really succeeded. When they heard this, the expressions of the elders from the legalism school changed. Their eyes all turned blood red, and the expressions of the people from the school of vertical and horizontal were not any better. A father and son grand supremacy, and Du Yunlong and Yi Piaoling, that kind of junior supremacy. What a desolate country. That Du Tingxian is worthy of being the Demon King's father. What's the use of his son? As expected, his father is not bad. He crippled his own cultivation and recultivated in the divine domain. What kind of perseverance and determination is this? He did not disappoint the heavens. A nirvana grand supremacy, reaching the heavens in a single step. It's over. Legalism is really miserable this time. In an instant, many experts in the surroundings began to discuss. They were deeply shocked. Chi, the divine domain was once again filled with a rain of light. In an instant, many figures descended. Among these figures were the disciples of the legalism school of vertical and horizontal, as well as many demon beasts and flood dragons. When these figures appeared, their hair was disheveled, and their eyes were lifeless. It was as if they had not yet reacted. "Old ancestor, this is bad. The 18 celestial generals and Du Yunlong are together. They are working together to kill us, the people of the school of vertical and horizontal. Old ancestor, this is bad. Du Yunlong and the 18 celestial generals are slaughtering us. Someone said to Li Chunfa, Qin Tianshi, and the others in a trembling voice, Old ancestor, Du Yunlong and Yi Piaoling are attacking us dragons. A flood dragon said to Long Ting with a pale face, Bastard! When these voices were heard, the experts and ancestors of the legalism school of vertical and horizontal, and the dragons all roared in anger. This is too tragic. Yi Piaoling and Du Yunlong plotted against us and led us into a desperate situation. Many people from our 3 families were killed. A woman cried. She had a life-saving talisman to escape the calamity, but others who did not have life-saving talismans were completely killed at this moment. The school of vertical and horizontal, dragons, and especially the experts of the legalism school of vertical and horizontal, had ashen faces after their anger. They originally wanted to completely kill Du Xiaofu and everyone around him in the divine dominion space and ruin the fortune of the small desolate country. However, they never expected that in the divine dominion space, not only Du Xiaofu, but all the young people of the desolate country were like dragons in the 4 seas and tigers in the forest. Each and every one of them was incomparably terrifying. On the contrary, the people of the 3 families were like sheep in front of them and were killed one after another. At this moment, the 3 families were not just injured, but their foundations were damaged. Their hearts, livers, spleens, lungs, and kidneys were injured. Where's Qin Wudi? Where's Gongsun Wuji? Where's Long San? The experts of the legalism school of vertical and horizontal, and the dragons were unwilling to accept this. They still had peak experts inside. They were the most important people they had sent into the divine dominion space this time. I haven't seen them. I'm already thinking of ways to find them, but I don't know where they are. Uncle Wuji is in seclusion. He hasn't come out yet. Someone spoke up and informed the elders. Quick, do your best to find them and inform them to come out. Quick, an elder shouted. Right now, only Qin Wudi, Gongsun Wuji, and Long San could stop Du Yunlong, Du Xiaofu, and the others. Otherwise, the 3 families would truly be wiped out in the divine dominion space. It's over. If the disciples of the legalism school of vertical and horizontal do not seize the opportunity this time, it will affect the fortune of the legalism school in the future. Think of a way. We must think of a way. Otherwise, the fortune of our 3 families will be affected for countless years. This loss is too great. We must think of a way to stop all of this. The Demon King and his son must not be left alive. The desolate country is already fully fledged. We must cut off their wings. Otherwise, when they come out, they will be a huge problem. Qin Tianshi, Gongsun Hua, Long Tang, and the others had complicated expressions. They looked at each other and discussed telepathically. At this moment, the situation was critical. The 3 families had almost lost a generation in the divine dominion space. Do you feel it? The seal on the entrance to the divine dominion space is weakening. My dragon soul has tested it. It is much weaker than before. Especially after the strange phenomenon earlier, the seal on the entrance to the divine dominion space weakened even more. If it weakens a little more, we may have a chance to enter. Long Tang's voice was transmitted to Gongsun Hua, Qin Tianshi, and Li Chunfa's ears. Hearing this, Gongsun Hua, Qin Tianshi, Li Chunfa, and the others were all secretly shocked. Their eyes lit up and brightened. The rise of the desolate country is unstoppable. It's too strong. There are only a few supremes. The father and son of a supremes are too terrifying. The surrounding experts were still discussing in secret as they sucked in a breath of cold air. The desolate country was indeed too strong. A family might not necessarily have a supremes, but the desolate country had a few. In the desolate country, there were still quite a number of young demonic beasts that could look down on their peers. A large group of young demonic beasts at the level of beast kings. Once they matured, they would become a truly terrifying force that could contend with any of the 9 great families. Qin Tianshi, Li Chunfa, and the others don't know what color their intestines are now. The Du family has 3 supremes now. It's hard to say if there will be more supremes in the future. It's said that Du Yu, Du Hao, and Du Shui are all extremely powerful. Some patriarch-level experts gasped. They were shocked by the desolate country. The Du family only has 2 supremes? You're underestimating the Du family. Old Man Di Pai of the farmer's family said secretly, his eyes revealing a faint smile. Others might not know, but the farmer's family knew that the Du family had more than 2 Nirvana Supremes. They knew that the Du family had one more Supremes, who was not below the Demon King. Bang, bang, bang. In the Divine Dominion space, in a deep valley, the sound of energy was endless. Blood dyed the valley red. It's too terrifying. The 18 celestial guards, Du Yunlong and Du Xiaoman, are massacring. They're specifically targeting people from the legalism, school of vertical and horizontal, and dragons. It's fine as long as the others don't provoke them. Outside the deep valley, many creatures had gathered and were discussing spiritedly. They were all shocked by the scene. Inside the Divine Valley, there were many figures attacking and massacring. Before long, over 100 people and many huge demonic beasts were slaughtered by dozens of people. Those dozens of people were Du Yunlong and the 18 celestial guards of the desolate country's peak peers. They shocked the surrounding creatures. Don't come over. If you kill me, my school of vertical and horizontal will not let you go. Inside the deep valley, the last disciple of the school of vertical and horizontal was limp on the ground. He no longer had a life-saving talisman. He was moving back quite a bit, dripping with blood. His face was pale, and his eyes were filled with fear. His whole body was trembling. So what if you're from the school of vertical and horizontal? Kill. Yi Piaoling attacked. With a finger, faint black Xian Qi surged and condensed into a fingerprint. It killed him directly, turning him into a bloody mist and destroying his soul. Let's go. If we continue forward, we should not be far from the legendary Supreme Tomb. Du Yunlong came to Yi Piaoling's side and said, at that time, we should be able to meet third brother. Whoosh, whoosh. Many figures flew into the sky and disappeared from the deep valley in a few flashes. Poor legalism, school of vertical and horizontal, and dragons. The surrounding people exclaimed and lamented for the legalism, school of vertical and horizontal, and dragons. Under the suppression of the desolate country, these 3 clans could no longer hold their heads high. In the vast clouds, there were towering trees everywhere in the ancient forest. The clouds were getting thinner, and the visibility was getting clearer. The influence on Xian Qi and primordial spirit was also getting weaker. We're finally out. Many figures flew out from the ancient forest with joy in their eyes. We've finally made it out of this ancient forest. Du Xiaofu stretched and took a deep breath. He bathed in the sunlight. It had been a long time since he was bathed in sunlight. Under Yun Mu's lead, the group safely made it out of the strange ancient forest. Master, not far ahead is the Supreme Tomb that you outsiders call it. Yun Mu told Du Xiaofu. Chapter 1652. Supreme Tomb? What kind of place is that? Du Xiaofu asked. It sounded like an extraordinary place, so it definitely wasn't simple. It's said that it's the place where the greatest fortune is hidden, but it's also the most dangerous place in the entire divine domain. It's said that even supremes can easily be buried there, so it's called the Supreme Tomb. Lian Qingrong told Du Xiaofu. At this moment, Lian Qingrong and the 8 maidservants beside her had another life-saving talisman between their eyebrows. Naturally, they were all placed by Du Xiaofu. However, when Du Xiaofu placed the life-saving talismans for the 9 of them, Lian Qingrong, the 8 maidservants, Big Lan and Little Lan were all shocked as if they had seen a ghost. The greatest fortune. We must fight for it. Du Xiaofu's eyes were firm and resolute. Although he wasn't too interested in ordinary opportunities in the realm of the gods, it was only limited to inheritances. As for treasures, spiritual herbs, and other heavenly materials, Du Xiaofu had always been interested in them. And no matter what the greatest fortune in the divine domain was, Du Xiaofu didn't want to miss it, so he had to fight for it. Master, from here to the sovereign's tomb, we just need to cross over the myriad beast mountains. It's only a day's journey. That place is next to the sealed land. It has quite a few demon beast experts under its command, and its cultivation base is even stronger than mine. It's already at the beast realm and is of the same generation as my father and mother. It likes to eat humans for fun, But with me here, it shouldn't be a problem for us to pass through safely. Out of respect for my father and mother, it should at least give me some face. Yunmu said to Du Xiaofu. However, I'm afraid that Frozen will also enter the Supreme Tomb to fight for the fortune. There are also some other monster kings here. They won't miss out on this opportunity and have always been fighting for it. It's good to reduce some trouble, Du Xiaofu said. Although he wasn't afraid of the beast domain level monsters, it was better to reduce some trouble as much as possible. I'll go first, Lin Qingrong said to Du Xiaofu. All right, let's play it by ear. Du Xiaofu nodded. He had already discussed it with Lin Qingrong. After leaving this ancient forest, they would split up to fight for opportunities and act according to the situation. It could be considered that in this god domain where he had many enemies, there would be a secret helper. Maybe it would have an unexpected effect when the time came. Lin Qingrong nodded and flashed through the sky with the 8 maidservants. I didn't expect you to be the Demon King Du Xiaofu. You're so powerful. Even the successor of the Great Snow Mountain was defeated by you. Xiao Lan's eyes widened as she watched Lin Qingrong and the others leave. Her gaze was filled with admiration. I already said that I'm the invincible god of war. Du Xiaofu wasn't embarrassed at all. Dongli Qingqing rolled her eyes at Du Xiaofu and said softly, Be careful. When we reach the Supreme Tomb, I'm afraid we will encounter people from the dragons, legalism, and school of vertical and horizontal. Du Xiaofu's eyes moved. He understood what Dongli Qingqing meant. Legalism, school of vertical and horizontal, as well as dragons, there were still experts who hadn't shown up. Although most of the small fish and shrimps had been killed, those real experts still existed. Although they would be difficult to deal with, if they really killed those people completely, even compared to killing Haning Ma and the others, it would be more painful for those old guys from legalism and the others. It's good to encounter them. Du Xiaofu smiled faintly. Even if he encountered them in the past, he wouldn't be afraid, let alone now that he had broken through to the Nirvana realm. At this moment, even if he were to encounter the strongest people from legalism, dragons, and school of vertical and horizontal, Du Xiaofu had great confidence that he could kill them. No matter how strong Qin Wudi and Gongsun Wuji were, they wouldn't be comparable to Lin Qingrong. This made Du Xiaofu a little excited. Since he encountered them, he would let legalism and the others be completely heartbroken. Let's go. After that, the few of them flew towards the Thousand Beast Mountain. Only after crossing the Thousand Beast Mountain could they reach the Supreme Tomb. Whoosh, whoosh. After Du Xiaofu and the others left, there were quite a number of figures flying out from the ancient forest. They were all following Du Xiaofu and the others from afar. Only then could they walk out smoothly. We're finally out. Figures flew out one after another. All of them were extremely excited. The mountains were continuous and lush, but there was also a kind of vigor and vastness. Roar. Within the mountains, there were many demonic beasts howling and roaring that resounded through the void. This is too much. These ancient demonic beasts are too presumptuous. Humph, do they really think we're easy to bully? They're not putting us in their eyes at all. At the edge of the mountains, there were many ferocious demonic beasts that were entrenched in a straight line. Their huge bodies were like mountains that were lined up neatly. These demonic beasts looked ferocious with ferocious eyes. Their mouths were filled with the smell of blood, and their auras were extremely powerful. Thousands of figures gathered in the surroundings, and there were even many demonic beasts. However, at this moment, they were all blocked outside and couldn't take half a step forward. These thousands of figures weren't afraid of the ancient demonic beasts. They were all in the early stages of the martial domain realm and beast domain realm. They were stronger than the ancient demonic beasts. They didn't dare to take half a step forward. Instead, they saw many demonic beasts and human corpses hanging on the towering trees. Although the demonic beasts guarding the mountains weren't too strong, they knew that there were top experts of the ancient demonic beasts in the depths of the mountains. The many corpses hanging on the trees were proof. They were killing one as a warning to the others. Too presumptuous. This is simply bullying. Many people were furious and eager to give it a try. However, not many people dared to rush forward. They were furious, but also fearful. That white-robed youth was too strong. He forced his way through. If we knew, we would have followed him. I don't know what happened. The myriad beast king is inside. Maybe that guy has already been killed. It's rumored that the myriad beast king likes to eat humans. The stronger they are, the more he likes to eat them. Some people were discussing. Not long ago, a white-robed youth and 8 maidservants ignored the demonic beasts and forced their way through, killing many demonic beasts. However, they were hesitant at first and didn't dare to follow. At this moment, they couldn't help but feel regret. However, some people were still hesitant. The myriad beast king was inside. Maybe that white-robed youth had already been killed inside. The myriad beast king liked to eat the flesh of human experts the most. The myriad beast king has given the order. If you want to go, find the demon king Du Xiaofu first. Otherwise, don't even think about taking half a step past the myriad beast mountain. Trespassers will be killed without mercy. A demonic beast spoke. His voice reverberated in all directions. It was deafening. Bastard, where are we going to find the demon king Du Xiaofu? So what if we find the demon king Du Xiaofu? Legalism, school of vertical and horizontal, and dragons. So many people have died. That demon king Du Xiaofu is not someone we can provoke. Some people were filled with hatred. These ancient demonic beasts wanted to find the demon king Du Xiaofu. However, the demon king Du Xiaofu was definitely not someone they could provoke. Swish swish, in the distant sky, several figures flew down. They were Du Xiaofu, Dongli Qingqing, Yun Mu, the woman surnamed Su, and the others who came out from the ancient forest. There are so many people in front. Are they waiting to deal with you? The woman surnamed Su looked at Du Xiaofu. She knew how many enemies Du Xiaofu had. She couldn't rule out the possibility that the demon king Du Xiaofu had lured them here. I don't have that many enemies. Du Xiaofu curled his lips. Miss Su might be right. You have a lot of enemies, especially here. Dongli Qingqing said to Du Xiaofu. She was already very familiar with the woman surnamed Su and the others. It seemed that it was easier for women to get to know each other. There was a smile on her fairy-like face. They seemed to be the subordinates of Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu is the one who sealed the mountain. Yunmu said. She recognized the many demonic beasts that occupied the mountain from afar. She also revealed a puzzled expression. Logically speaking, Du Xiaofu shouldn't have offended so many people who came in. Once these people rebelled, Du Xiaofu would have to pay the price with the help of some powerful people. Didn't I say they aren't my enemies? I don't provoke any hatred. How could I have so many enemies? Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. However, after a while, when Du Xiaofu approached the crowd, he heard a lot of discussions. His expression was no longer good, and his face immediately turned gloomy. Demon King Du Xiaofu. That's the Demon King Du Xiaofu. Following the appearance of Du Xiaofu, there were over 1,000 people who were blocked in front of the myriad beast mountain. Someone immediately recognized Du Xiaofu. That Demon King's ferocity was something that no one could forget after witnessing it. Swish swish. When someone recognized the Demon King Du Xiaofu, a group of gazes fell on Du Xiaofu and the others. Chapter 1653. It really is the Demon King, Du Xiaofu. More people recognized the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, and cried out in surprise. Many cultivators who did not recognize the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, also looked at him curiously, especially some of the women, who were surprised. The Demon King, Du Xiaofu, who was rumored to be even more ferocious than the demonic beasts, did not seem to be as ferocious as the rumors said. Instead, he looked quite decent. However, when these women saw Dongli Qingqing, they were all overshadowed. They could not even feel jealous. Young Hall Master. A figure flew out and landed beside Du Xiaofu with a surprised look in his eyes. He was rather excited and surprised. There were only 2 people who flew out. They were Tao Yu and Wu Masheng from the 7-star hall. They hid in the crowd. There were only 2 of them, and not many people recognized them. You guys are here too? Seeing Tao Yu and Wu Masheng, Du Xiaofu was also surprised. Seeing that Wu Masheng and Tao Yu did not have their life-saving talismans on their foreheads, he frowned slightly. We were defeated by the school of vertical and horizontal once. When we came in again, we were separated from everyone, Wu Masheng said. Young Hall Master, The Myriad Beast King in the Myriad Beast Mountain ahead has sealed off the mountain. He said that he would only let everyone pass if he found you. That demonic beast is very strong, and no one is a match for him. Only a few people have passed through the seal, but I don't know if they are alive or dead inside, Tao Yu said. Hearing that, Yun Mu's face changed. Then, he said to Du Xiaofu, Master, do you want me to go look for Xingfeng? Maybe it will save us some trouble. No need. We will go in directly. I want to see who is looking for me. Du Xiaofu's eyes flashed with coldness. He did not know Xingfeng. At this moment, Xingfeng was looking for him everywhere and even sealed off the mountain. Du Xiaofu did not think that things were as simple as they seemed. Then, Du Xiaofu, Dongli Qingqing, and the others approached the Myriad Beast Mountain. The people around them made way for them. The woman surnamed Su, Big Lawn, and Little Lawn weren't worried in the slightest. Even an exalt like Lin Qingrong had been defeated. Coupled with Dongli Qingqing's presence, why would they fear those ancient demon beast descendants? Human, do you want to die? When they saw Du Xiaofu and the others approaching, one of the snake-like demonic beasts in the lead opened its mouth. Its scarlet tongue flicked in and out as it stared down at Du Xiaofu. How dare you stop me? Yunmu walked out and glared at the snake-shaped demonic snake. He growled and spat out his rat fangs. His gaze was cold and terrifying. Wolf Shrew King. The snake-shaped beast recognized Yunmu. It was a little scared, but then it said, The Myriad Beast King has ordered that no one can step into the Myriad Beast Mountain. Wolf Shrew King, if you want me to go, I don't think the Myriad Beast King will stop you. But the human beside you can't. Do you really want to stop me? Yunmu's face turned cold. This is the Myriad Beast King's order. Wolf Shrew King, do you want to provoke the Myriad Beast King? The snake-shaped beast shouted. With the Myriad Beast King behind it, it had nothing to fear. Squeak. Yunmu let out a sharp squeak. The sound wave affected the primordial spirit. Its figure flashed out in an instant, turning into a white mist electric python. A terrifying power rippled out. Qi-la. When the snake-shaped beast moved, it was too late to dodge. The defensive rune on its 7th inch was torn apart. The indestructible scales were torn open, revealing a bloody hole. Bang bang. Yunmu's body drilled out from the other side of the snake-shaped beast. In the next moment, the snake-shaped beast's body shattered inch by inch. It was killed by Yunmu. Awuh! Following Yunmu's sudden attack, many demonic beast descendants in the surroundings roared. The sound shook the void, and countless demonic beasts moved sideways. However, these ancient demonic beast descendants were all afraid of Yunmu. However, these demonic beasts were not afraid of Du Xiaofu, Dongli Qingqing, and the others. They directly pounced at them. Du Xiaofu's face darkened. With a wave of his sleeve, waves of golden talisman runes surged. Like a rock flapping its wings, a domineering and fierce aura erupted like a volcano, crushing and destroying everything. Bang, bang, bang. In an instant, many ancient demonic beast descendants were shattered. They had no power to resist. Go! Du Xiaofu did not stop. Golden light surged and crushed everything. Wherever his figure passed, the huge demonic beasts that pounced over were killed like birds with broken wings. All of their vitality was destroyed. Some of their bodies exploded, and a bloody mist poured out. So strong. Not far away, many people's eyes trembled as they watched the Demon King crush and destroy everything in his path. They were dumbfounded. Follow. Dongli Qingqing, Tao Yu, and the woman surnamed Su did not make a move. They directly followed behind Du Xiaofu and left. Awoo! The ancient demonic beast descendants in the surroundings roared fiercely. Although their intelligence was not high, they had an innate fear and did not dare to chase. Let's charge over together. Some of those who were blocked finally could not bear it anymore. Their figures flashed out, wanting to forcefully charge over and follow behind the Demon King, Du Xiaofu. Naturally, they would be able to gain a lot of benefits. However, they did not expect that the demonic beasts in the surroundings would quickly surround them. In an instant, they were surrounded in the middle. Awoo! Bang, bang, bang. In an instant, a shocking battle was unavoidable. They immediately collided. However, The people and some demonic beasts who were blocked did not suffer any losses. They even had the upper hand. However, many of the ancient demonic beast descendants did not have any intelligence, so they trapped them without any fear of death. Whoosh whoosh. In the mountains, several figures turned into rainbows and flashed across the sky like lightning. There is an icy aura. That guy Lian Qingrong has made a move here. In the air, Du Xiaofu said. He felt that there were traces left behind by Lian Qingrong. There were many demonic beast bloodstains and corpses around. From the traces, they were killed not long ago. The corpses were also frozen. There was no doubt that it was Lian Qingrong and her maidservant who made a move. Did that guy really submit to you? He originally wanted to make Miss Qingqing his maidservant. Xiao Lan said. He actually dared to touch my woman. Naturally, I can't let him go. However, after beating him up, I have vented my anger. I believe that he will not dare to do it again. Du Xiaofu said. Lian Qingrong was the successor of the Great Snow Mountain. The Great Snow Mountain was the follower of the Dragon God and the master of 3,000 worlds. He had to give some face to the Great Snow Mountain. After beating Lian Qingrong up, he did not hold back. Hearing Du Xiaofu's words, Dongli Qingqing did not say anything more at this moment. Anyway, she was already used to him calling her his woman. Moreover, in Tianhuang mainland, they were indeed together. Although that was an accident, it could not be changed. She also did not regret it. At this moment, they met again and walked together. As for what would happen in the future, she could only take one step at a time. She did not think too much about what her master had said to her before. Along the way, they encountered some demonic beast corpses from time to time, which allowed Du Xiaofu and the others to move forward very smoothly. With everyone's speed, 6 hours later, an exceptionally huge mountain appeared in front of them. The mountain was strange. It was surrounded by lush green, but the mountain was covered with rocks and was dark in color. The mountain peak towered into the clouds, looking imposing. The mountain was majestic and majestic. Master, in front of us is the lair of the parallel seal. It is also the only way to pass through the 10,000 Beast Mountain. There are many ancient formations and dangerous places in the surrounding mountains. This path is the safest, but it has always been occupied by the parallel seal. Yun Mu stood in front of the majestic mountain peak and said to Du Xiaofu from a towering mountain peak opposite it, "Roar." Just as Yun Mu and Du Xiaofu were standing on a mountain peak, a roar suddenly sounded from the dark mountain peak in front of them. Roar. Soon after, the space in that area trembled, and the roars of quite a number of monsters swept out from the towering mountain. The tremors caused the entire space to tremble, and huge rocks crumbled and tumbled down from the mountain. The earth quaked and the mountains swayed. Who dares to trespass? You're courting death. There was a furious roar that sounded like thunder, as if it had been greatly provoked. Rumble. After which, many demonic beasts swept down from the majestic mountain peak in an overwhelming manner. In an instant, they covered the entire sky like a dark cloud as they moved horizontally over. In the lead was a huge demonic beast that was extremely strange. It was shaped like a swine and had 2 heads. Black runes flickered all over its body, and it emitted a fierce and bloodthirsty aura. Beside that strange demonic beast was a ferocious bird that looked like a pheasant. It flew with its whiskers and spread its wings like a butterfly's. It could tear through space. There were pitch-black spatial cracks at the edge of the bird's wings. It would probably collapse space with a light flap. Roar. A deafening dragon roar sounded in all directions. A hornless dragon hovered in the air, its body floating in the air. Huge waves rippled in the surrounding space, and its aura was monstrous. The auras of these 3 demonic beasts were especially terrifying. Behind them were many demonic beast experts, many of whom were even at the sealed domain level of the beast region. The parallel seal, Dang Hu, Chi Dragon. When Yun Zhan saw the 3 demonic beasts with extremely terrifying auras, his face instantly turned solemn. 3 demonic beasts at the great domain level. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows slightly as he looked at the 3 leading demonic beasts in front of him. He could feel the monstrous aura coming from them, and his eyes were filled with surprise. They were actually demonic beasts that had reached the great domain level. Chapter 1654. What a terrifying aura. However, this lineup caused Tao Yu and Wu Masheng's expressions to change drastically. The aura of this group of ancient demonic beast descendants was extraordinarily strong. That ferocious aura caused them to be unable to summon the will to fight back. Master, Dang Hu and the Hornless Dragon are also here. They are also the kings of this place. I don't know why they have gathered together. Yun Mu said softly to Du Xiaofu. Dang Hu and the Hornless Dragon were of the same generation as her father and mother. They had also reached the Great Domain level and were not easy to deal with. 3 Great Domain level evil beasts. They are very strong. Du Xiaofu's eyes suddenly revealed a desire to fight. He pursed his lips and said, "Subdue them, and we will naturally know the reason." 3 Great Domain level demonic beasts. They should have just attacked and are in a violent state. It is probably caused by Lian Qingrong. Dongli Qingqing sized up the 3 Great Domain level demonic beasts in the void before her. Her eyes were suffused with a faint green radiance. She said to Du Xiaofu, however, given Lian Qingrong's strength, these 3 demonic beasts are actually not injured. She must have known that these 3 demonic beasts are looking for you. It seems that she deliberately left them for you. Lian Qingrong is doing this on purpose. She is obviously unhappy because she has to submit to me. Du Xiaofu smiled. Lian Qingrong walked past them. These 3 demonic beasts were very strong, but they were not much of a threat to Lian Qingrong. At least, if they really fought, these 3 demonic beasts would not be so unharmed. The only possibility was that Lian Qingrong had forcefully walked past them and left them for him to deal with. This could be considered as appeasing the displeasure in her heart. At this moment, seeing the 3 demonic beasts so violent and furious, Du Xiaofu guessed that they were probably provoked by Lian Qingrong not long ago. With the cultivation strength of these 3 demonic beasts, it would not be a problem for them to block an ordinary Great Domain level expert. It would not even be difficult for them to kill them. However, in front of Lian Qingrong, who was at the peak of the Nirvana stage, they were undoubtedly not enough. Yunjian, it's you. The demonic beast in the middle that looked like a swine had a head at the front and back, and its entire body was covered in black runes. When it saw Yun Zun, its fierce eyes revealed a look of surprise. You're still my elder. For the sake of my father and mother, just surrender. Tell me, who told you to find my master? I beg my master to let you live. Yun Mu spoke, her scarlet eyes rippling. Although there were many demonic beasts here that frequently fought with each other, the 10,000 Beast Mountain was close to the Cloud Forest. When her parents were still alive, they had taken good care of her and had never made things difficult for her. Therefore, she was persuaded to surrender. Your master. Hearing this, Bing Feng revealed a puzzled look, and his gaze swept over Du Xiaofu and Dongli Qingqing. The aptitude is not bad. I feel that the taste will definitely be very good. When his gaze swept past Du Xiaofu and the others, his eyes blazed with passion. Bing Feng, don't make a mistake. You're not my master's opponent. Yun Jian said. You actually recognized a human as your master. You don't deserve to be a king. From now on, everything you have will be mine. Bing Feng looked at Yun Jian with a cold gaze. No need to talk nonsense. Do it. These humans deserve to be killed. I'd rather kill 1,000 wrongly than let Du Xiaofu go. The horned dragon spoke, his fierce eyes revealing a murderous intent. You're looking for Du Xiaofu. Have you seen him before? Du Xiaofu looked helplessly at the horned dragon. Bing Feng and Dang Hu, as long as they're humans, kill them all. There's no need to know them. They're all dead anyway. The horned dragon spoke, his eyes looking down at Du Xiaofu with a cold sneer, as if he was looking at an ant. Do you have the strength to do so? Just now, someone swaggered off in front of you. You can't even stop him. Du Xiaofu curled his lips. From the aura left behind in the surroundings, he knew that Lian Qingrong had just passed by here. Hearing Du Xiaofu's words, Bing Feng, the horned dragon, and Dang Hu's expressions suddenly turned gloomy. There were indeed people who left just now, and there were 9 of them. That white-robed human was too strong. Even if they joined forces, they couldn't stop him. Even Dang Hu, who was known for his speed, couldn't catch up. At this moment, the 3 beasts were furious. When they heard Du Xiaofu's words, they were undoubtedly adding fuel to the fire. Looking at the three beasts in the void ahead, Dongli Qingqing's eyes flickered. Then, she looked at Du Xiaofu and said, "I'll deal with one. Don't be too harsh. I want them alive." Du Xiaofu specifically reminded Dongli Qingqing, afraid that Dongli Qingqing would kill them. "Master, I can block any one of them for a while." Yun Jian also spoke. She knew that her cultivation was inferior to Bing Feng's, but it wouldn't be a problem for her to block them for a while. "No need. Leave the rest to me. You can block them for a while." When Du Xiaofu finished speaking to Yun Jian, he condensed 2 life-saving talismans and placed them between Tao Yu and Wu Ma Sheng's eyebrows. He was afraid that something would happen to them. Life-saving talismans. In an instant, Tao Yu and Wu Ma Sheng were stunned. They were even more shocked than when they saw the large group of ancient beasts in front of them. "Ignorant humans, you're courting death." Hearing that the humans in front of them didn't take them seriously at all, Bing Feng and the other beasts were already filled with murderous intent. Swish. As soon as he finished speaking, Dang Hu was the first to move. He flapped his wings and the void around him emitted a pitch-black light. Then, he disappeared from where he was. The moment Dang Hu disappeared, Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. Almost at the same time, the golden light under his feet flashed and he took a big step back. Swish. When Du Xiaofu's figure had just retreated, the space where he was just a moment ago began to fluctuate. A wing tore through the void like the sharpest blade. Dazzling runes shot out like blade light and sword shadows, and pitch-black cracks appeared in the void one after another. In the air, Dang Hu let out a cry of surprise, as though he was shocked that his attack had missed. After which, fluctuations appeared in the air as his gigantic body lunged out. His eyes gleamed with a terrifying light as he flashed through the air with lightning speed. With a twist of his body, he slashed out with his other wing, sweeping towards Du Xiaofu with great speed. Bastard! This time, Du Xiaofu didn't retreat. Instead, he moved forward. In an instant, golden light erupted and a powerful aura surged. It was as if a peerless, ferocious beast was about to soar into the sky. Facing Dang Hu's wing, Du Xiaofu shook his arm and threw out a punch. His aura was domineering and looked down on everything. Ayo! Ayo! This punch was accompanied by the roar of a dragon and the cry of a divine elephant. Accompanied by the appearance of lightning and thunder in the sky, the space in front of the fist exploded. It directly collided with the wing that had cut through the void. Bang! The low and deep collision instantly resounded through the void. Monstrous energy instantly erupted. Waves of extremely terrifying energy rune ripples swept through the void like a tsunami. It was as if they were about to destroy everything. Golden light erupted, causing the space to vibrate and churn endlessly. Gee! In the instant of contact, Dang Hu let out a miserable shriek. The runes on his wing were smashed into smithereens. His wing cracked and blood poured out. His incomparably sharp wing had been smashed apart by a single punch. Suffering heavy injuries, his body lost its balance and fell from the sky. Dang Hu's speed was as fast as lightning. All of this happened too quickly, causing Dang Hu and the hornless dragon to be unable to recover from their shock. Swish! But at the same time, Dongli Qingqing took action. Her beautiful figure was covered in resplendent green light. Runes flickered as she attacked the strange Dang Hu. "It's your turn." Du Xiaofu traversed through the void. He wasn't far to begin with. In an instant, he arrived in front of the hornless dragon. The corners of his mouth curled into a faint smile. Ayo! The hornless dragon was a demonic beast at the Great Domain stage. It possessed an ancient bloodline and was definitely an expert among experts. It instantly recovered from its shock. Without any hesitation, its huge body soared into the sky. Using all its strength, it ferociously spat out a hornless dragon breath. Ayo! The dragon breath flickered and turned into a dragon-shaped illusory figure. It let out a dragon roar and carried a dragon's might. Accompanied by resplendent and terrifying runes, it instantly pierced through the void and charged towards Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu's eyes turned cold. Mysterious golden runes were released from his eyes. The golden-winged Dang Peng shadow behind him shone with boundless golden light as he activated the Dang Peng descends to the 9 heavens. Golden light bloomed in the sky. Du Xiaofu was like a real golden-winged Dang Peng descending. Carrying a domineering will, he flapped his wings and swept across the sky. A terrifying supreme beast's might swept out. With a claw, he tore apart the void. The Dang Peng chaos-shattering claw easily tore apart the giant dragon illusory figure. Rumble, rumble. The aura of the rock descending to the 9 heavens was released, causing it to seem as if thunder was rumbling in midair. Dazzling golden light burst forth from the talisman markings, and the light was gorgeous like fireworks. However, the shocking and overbearing pressure contained within it caused the surrounding space to tremble. Countless ancient demonic beast species trembled under the great pressure, and they roared and hissed endlessly. Boom! Du Xiaofu soared into the sky. His hair fluttered behind his back. There was an indescribable domineering and disdainful aura. His might distorted the surrounding void as he blasted out a palm. This palm was the condensation of the 3 seals obtained from the mysterious 4-elephant seal. The resplendent tricolored light was dazzling. It was also as powerful as a thunderbolt and directly landed on the head of the suppressed Qi dragon. Bang! Under this palm, the Qi dragon's body shone brightly. The dragon's scales on its head shattered layer by layer and dragon blood spurted out from its hideous mouth. Roar! The Qi dragon screamed miserably as its body fell to the mountain peak below. The peak of the mountain was destroyed. The rocks cracked and poured down in torrents. The entire mountain shook and cracked. Roar! At the same time, a mysterious seal covered Du Xiaofu's palm. It emitted the roars of dragons, phoenixes, lions, and tigers. However, a strange golden lightning arc and the shadow of a golden-winged Dang Peng appeared. The silver-yellow lightning arc flickered, and a monstrous pressure spread from it. It contained a pressure that no beast could resist. Blood Soul Seal. Blood Soul Seal. Du Xiaofu's figure rushed down. Accompanied by the pressure of the supreme beast, he turned into a ball of golden light. This strange seal landed directly between the Qi dragon's eyebrows. At the same time, the Qi dragon's eyes were filled with fear. That terrifying pressure made its dragon soul tremble. That was the descent of the supreme beast. Its whole body trembled and was completely suppressed. Then, its eyes closed involuntarily. Chapter 1655. As Du Xiaofu's hand seals continued to condense, silver gold runes entered the hornless dragon's glabella one after another. A terrifying pressure spread out, causing the numerous ancient demonic beasts in the surroundings to not dare to approach. They all prostrated themselves in fear. Ji, the heavily injured Dang Hu, rose into the air once again and pounced towards Du Xiaofu. The runes on his body burned brightly, and the might caused the void to shatter continuously. Buzz. Just as Dang Hu was about to pounce, a green light suddenly shot out from Du Xiaofu's body. In an instant, it turned into hundreds of saber lights that cut through the void. Wind and thunder rumbled as they formed a saber array that contained the mysteries of the 9 palaces. The illusionary saber array trapped Dang Hu within. The saber lights that cut through the void immediately cut off Dang Hu's other intact wing, causing it to bleed and cry out miserably. Roar! Dang Hu roared. His 2 ferocious heads spewed out terrifying air waves that could shatter the void. His fangs were sharp and could pierce through the void. The black runes on his body soared into the sky. Bang! 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 However, in front of Dongli Qingqing, Dang Hu did not have the slightest advantage. Instead, he was suppressed and kept howling. He was unable to injure Dongli Qingqing at all. His vitality was still being devoured by the bright green light around Dongli Qingqing. However, Dongli Qingqing was unable to do anything to Dang Hu in a short period of time. It was enough to show that this ancient demonic beast was not ordinary. Master. In the void, the hornless dragon opened his fierce eyes once again. The pair of dragon eyes had lost their ferocity and killing intent and had become obedient. A smile appeared on Du Xiaofu's face as he said to the hornless dragon, "Suppress Dang Hu, roar." The hornless dragon roared and unleashed its aura. Along with its dragon's might, it immediately suppressed Dang Hu without hesitation. Bastard, hornless dragon, are you being controlled by someone? Dang Hu roared and howled. Its 4 fierce eyes revealed a look of shock. It was already suppressed by a human, but the hornless dragon was not inferior to it. At this moment, it was in an even more difficult situation. Gee, Dang Hu hissed as he erupted with his full strength and utilized a secret technique to tear apart space. A large expanse of space was minced into pieces as runes shot into the sky. His beast body struggled free from the space, and he actually escaped from the illusory saber formation. However, his entire body was dripping with blood, and his wings were completely shattered. He was like a fishing net that was torn apart, and he was extremely miserable. Roar. At the same time, Du Xiaofu's figure appeared like a ghost. A resplendent golden-winged rock image accompanied by silver-yellow lightning arcs descended, bringing with it the roar of dragons, phoenixes, lions, and tigers, causing the beast soul in Dang Hu's mind to tremble. His entire body trembled as he was completely suppressed. Blood Soul Seal. Du Xiaofu forcibly set up the Blood Soul Seal again, and it directly landed on the glabella of Dang Hu, who was almost stunned by the absolute suppression. The strange palm print of the golden-winged rock image, accompanied by the supreme beast pressure, turned into a ball of golden light and disappeared between Dang Hu's eyebrows. This was Du Xiaofu forcibly setting up the Blood Soul Seal, which would be resisted by the beast soul with all its strength. If there was a mistake, the beast soul of the beast would be shattered, and he would also be greatly affected. His primordial spirit would be injured, and in the worst case, he would be possessed by the devil. Forcibly setting up the beast-controlling technique and activating the Blood Soul Seal required the support of a strong primordial spirit. It also required a good attainment in the Blood Soul Seal, which was much more difficult than killing a beast of the same level. The stronger the beast cultivation, the smaller the chance of forcibly setting up the Blood Soul Seal in its mind. It was definitely not a simple matter. However, Du Xiaofu could do it. The strength of his primordial spirit was not inferior to the strength of his physical body. At this moment, the nirvana cultivation of his nirvana true self was also supporting him, in whose mind, the beast soul and the hornless dragon roared and resisted with all their might. However, a bright golden light exploded in his mind at this moment. The shadow of a golden-winged great rock appeared in his mind with a strange handprint. It carried with it electric arcs and a monstrous aura of a supreme being swept across the sky, directly imprisoning his beast soul. After struggling for a while, the beast soul of Dang Hu, which was extremely resistant, finally began to be tamed. After a while, when Dang Hu opened his fierce eyes again, the fierceness in his eyes had disappeared. He became extremely docile and respectful. Looking at Du Xiaofu, he said, "Greetings, master." Du Xiaofu was very satisfied. With a smile on his face, the illusory saber formation around him was abstruse. Then, he kept it in his palm. At this moment, in the void not far away, countless ancient beasts were trembling and did not dare to get close to the battle. Under the suppression of Dongli Qingqing and the hornless dragon, Dang Hu was already dripping with blood. It was a tragic sight. Qi. Du Xiaofu's figure swept across the sky and appeared on top of Dang Hu's ferocious head. He used the beast-controlling technique and the Blood Soul Seal to suppress Dang Hu. However, what surprised Du Xiaofu was that Dang Hu's 2 heads were very strange. There were actually 2 beast souls, and they could be divided into 2. At the last moment, Dang Hu actually had a beast soul escape from his physical body and wanted to escape. "Master, be careful of Dang Hu's beast soul," Yunmu reminded Du Xiaofu. "Go back." Du Xiaofu suppressed it. Under Yunmu's reminder, he had already made preparations. Otherwise, the beast soul of Dang Hu would have escaped. "Master." In the end, Dang Hu submitted and stood in front of Du Xiaofu meekly. The hornless dragon and Dang Hu's 2 huge beast shadows turned into 2 elderly men, and Dang Hu's beast body turned into an elderly woman. The 3 beast kings were controlled, and the ancient beasts around them were trembling and submitting. This scene made Tao Yu and Wu Ma Shang unable to recover from their shock for a long time. There were many ancient caves on the dark, lofty mountain. Inside the caves, there were deep valleys and different worlds. Many ancient and huge palaces could be seen. This was Dang Hu's lair. It should have been an ancient mountain gate in the past. However, it was later occupied by Dang Hu, and he became the king of this mountain. Master, Dang Hu asked us to do this. He said that he wanted to find the demon king, Du Xiaofu. Dang Hu told the truth. Dang Hu was the one who asked them to do this. Dang Hu. Yunmu's expression changed when he heard this. His eyes were filled with fear and dread. Dang Hu. Du Xiaofu was still confused. He did not seem to be familiar with Dang Hu, so he would not attack him for no reason. Master, the Mirage Dragon King is a Mirage Dragon with the bloodline of a true dragon. It's the strongest monster king here. 1,000 years ago, there were 2 other top monster kings who could keep it in check. However, 1,000 years ago, the 2 monster kings tried to break through the domain but were suppressed by the space here. Both of them were severely injured and managed to survive. Since then, they have been living in seclusion. Hence, the Mirage Dragon King became the first monster king here, said Yunmu. Why is Dang Hu looking for me? Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows and asked Dang Hu, and the hornless dragon. Master, Dang Hu is looking for the demon king, Du Xiaofu, not Master, Dang Hu said. Master is the demon king, Du Xiaofu, that you are looking for. Yunmu scolded Dang Hu and the other 2. What? Master is the demon king, Du Xiaofu? Dang Hu and the other 2 were shocked. Master, the Mirage Dragon King is with a member of the dragon clan called Long San. It was Long San who told the Mirage Dragon King to look for Master. Once he sees Master, he should inform them, said the hornless dragon. Long San. Du Xiaofu's clear eyes flashed with golden light. He finally knew the reason. Dragons, Long San. There was no need to explain. Where is Long San now? Du Xiaofu was interested. Master, Long San and Dang Hu have already gone to the Supreme Tomb. They found many beast kings here and are looking for Master. We are just one of them, Dang Hu said. So they are not sure if Master will pass by here, so they did not stay for long. They only asked us to guard the mountain and search for Master. We were supposed to go to the Supreme Tomb to meet up with Dang Hu and wait for the tomb to open. Dongli Qingqing had been frowning. She suddenly asked Dang Hu and the others, Did you inform Long San and Dang Hu just now? We did not know Master before, so we did not inform him. We were only looking for Master, Dang Hu said. Dongli Qingqing glanced at Du Xiaofu and said, If we inform Lian Qingrong to come back, we can lure Long San here and kill him. But we don't know how strong Dang Hu is. There's no need to go through so much trouble to avoid wasting time. Let's meet in front of the Paragon Tomb. I really want to see how many trump cards Long San has prepared for me. The dragon race isn't afraid of heartache, so why should I be polite? Du Xiaofu's eyes were cold as killing intent flashed in his eyes. Chapter 1656. We might encounter experts from the school of legalism and school of vertical and horizontal in front of the sovereign's tomb. If we fight, we might not be able to gain much of an advantage. Dongli Qingqing said, Don't worry, we won't be at a disadvantage either. Du Xiaofu smiled. Little Xingxing, Qi Yeshi, Sumu Xin, Jialo Kaling, and Jialo Jueyu should be in front by now. Even if there were people from the school of legalism and school of vertical and horizontal, they wouldn't be at a disadvantage. Moreover, Du Xiaofu didn't believe that only the dragons were present since the school of legalism and school of vertical and horizontal and the dragons had long joined forces. There were traces of the school of vertical and horizontal behind them. That battle was unavoidable. Of course, Du Xiaofu never thought of letting off the remaining people from the school of legalism, dragons, and school of vertical and horizontal in the divine domain. He was worried that he wouldn't be able to find them. Now that they wanted to jump out, there was no need to be polite. Okay. Seeing Du Xiaofu's confident look, Dongli Qingqing didn't say anything more. She knew that this guy also had allies in the divine domain. Du Xiaoyao and the golden-winged great rocks were already terrifying enough. The vast ancient square was extremely majestic. It was surrounded by mountains in the distance, making people appear extremely small. Even if a huge demonic beast appeared in the square, it wouldn't cause too much of a visual impact. The square was mottled, and there were many cracks on the ground. There were countless traces of swords and sabers. It was obvious that this place had experienced many shocking battles, but it wasn't destroyed. Around the square, there were many people gathered. There were groups of 30 to 50 people, and there were also groups of 70 to 80 people. There were even dozens of people gathered together, but they were scattered and vigilant of each other. Some of these people were looking around, and some were recuperating and adjusting their breathing. They seemed to be waiting for something. In the center of the square, there were many huge and uneven stone platforms. There were a total of 10 stone platforms, all of them ancient, without any signs of repair. The gigantic rock, which covered an area of over 10,000 feet, was like a small star that was shot down by someone and was finally cut into 4 pieces. There were many figures standing on a stone platform. A man in a black battle robe glanced at the living beings in the distance. There was some contempt and disdain in his eyes. However, he did not look down on the figures gathered on the stone platforms. He was even a little wary of them. That young man is not weak. He should have some background. There was a handsome middle-aged man in dark green armor beside the man in black battle robes. He looked at the young man in white battle robes who was surrounded by 8 beautiful maidservants on a stone platform to the side and said, intentionally or otherwise, "He should be the legendary successor of the Great Snow Mountain, Lien Qingrong, a declining sect. Perhaps after the opening of the Divine Plane this time, the Great Snow Mountain will no longer exist in this world," the man in black said. Hearing this, the eyes of the middle-aged man in battle robes flickered. The armor on his body was very strange. It seemed to be made up of pieces of scales, and they were reverse scales, which made the armor very special. Occasionally, it would shine with light. Then, he looked at the man in black battle robes and said softly, "This is the last chance. From now on, everything here will disappear. Don't worry, we dragons will do what we promised you. You are also one of us dragons. When the time comes, we will take you out at all costs," the man in black battle robes said. The man in reverse scale armor looked at the void in the square. His eyes flickered with the light of scales, and he said, "If we get the legendary greatest opportunity, we may have the opportunity to break through the limits of this divine plane and walk out of the world. We will no longer be restrained here. If you and I work together, who here can be our enemy? When the Supreme Tomb opens, we will be able to fight for the greatest opportunity." The eyes of the man in black battle robes began to become fierce. His voice gradually became gloomy, and he said, "But before that, we must find that bastard Du Xiaofu and tear him to pieces. Only then can the hatred of us dragons be quenched." "Is that Du Xiaofu really as strong as the rumors say? But a Nirvana Grandmaster is indeed rare," the middle-aged man in battle armor said. "No matter how strong he is, that bastard must die this time." The voice of the man in black battle robes was extremely gloomy. Murderous intent surged, and he said, "Qin Wudi of legalism and Gongsun Wuji of the school of vertical and horizontal have yet to appear. Humans are indeed unreliable. It's just a human. A Nirvana Grandmaster is very strong, but after all, he is only at the Nirvana realm. There is no need to surround and kill him." The middle-aged man in battle armor was somewhat indifferent. Although he knew that a Nirvana Grandmaster was very strong, there was a limit to how strong a Nirvana Grandmaster could be. "That kid is very strange, and the school of Yinyang, school of Moism, and the school of agriculture don't know what's good for them. This time, we can't make any more mistakes. If that kid doesn't die in the tomb, then he'll definitely come back. The tomb will be his death. Being able to die in front of the tomb is already a blessing for him. It's a great honor for him to be honored." The face of the man in black battle robes was gloomy. His voice was gloomy, and it was filled with anger and killing intent. He had already received news that Dragon 4, Dragon 6, and the others had all been killed. Including Dragon 9, he had already lost 5 of his brothers to that brat. Dragon 5 had also died at the hands of Du Yunlong from the desolate country. How could he not be angry? Whoosh whoosh. As time passed, from all directions, silhouettes landed one after another, and all of them attracted the attention of the surrounding people. Whoosh whoosh, in midair, The void was suffused with divine light, and strange movements appeared. Rumble. In a short period of time, strange phenomena appeared in the sky. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, causing the void to begin to boil. The might of the heavens was vast, and it shook the surroundings. On a mountain peak, a graceful figure appeared, and a divine ring appeared from within her body. Then, a second ring appeared, and a total of 3 divine rings appeared, as if divine flames were burning. When the 3 divine rings appeared in the sky, a light beam of energy from the heavens and the earth seemed to have transcended time and space, and it enveloped the beautiful figure within it. It's that little girl who is breaking through to the half-step nirvana realm. It will be a great merit if we bring her back. In the mountains, many silhouettes appeared. They were all covered in robes and hats, and their gazes were frightening. It's you bastards who hide your heads and show your tails again. Kill. A green light suddenly spread out and enveloped the sky. It was a cluster of green flames, and a sparkling red flame rose. Screech. When the sparkling green flames rose and were released into the void, a loud screech immediately spread out. The green flames were like a green sun, and a giant bird that was thousands of feet in size soared out. This giant bird had gorgeous tail feathers that were covered in green runes. It was moving, and when it spread its wings, it was agile and majestic, showing the aura of a supreme beast. It was a green Luan. Green Luan, one of the phoenixes. Among the 5 phoenixes, the red ones were the main phoenixes, the yellow ones were the Tawu, the purple ones were the Tawu, the green ones were the Tawu, and the white ones were the swan. This green Luan was one of the 5 phoenixes. It's this evil beast again. It will be of great use if we capture it alive. Strange silhouettes swept out, and as they spoke, waves of demonic aura swept out, accompanied by lightning and thunder, and instantly besieged the green Luan. That girl is breaking through, and she is at her weakest. Lay down a demonic seal, and we can take her away. A silhouette spoke, and directly swept towards the beautiful figure who was breaking through. Don't you dare touch Sister Xingyu. The green Luan screeched, and its full strength erupted. It opened its mouth and spewed out countless green flames, which turned into countless sharp green flaming sword rays. They whistled through the void, and forced a few strange silhouettes to retreat. Some of them were seriously injured. This green Luan is not ordinary. Lord Moksha has ordered that this girl cannot be left alive. If we can't capture her, we will kill her. Let's kill this green Luan first. A silhouette revealed a cold look in his eyes, and he attacked with all his might. He threw out a punch, and his fist was surrounded by demonic aura with electric arcs. It exploded with a destructive and gorgeous light, and it collided with the green Luan. The green Luan tore the fist with its claws, and it turned into a dazzling rain of light. Rumble, however, at the same time. More than 10 silhouettes swept towards the green Luan at the same time. They were as fast as lightning, and their demonic aura was monstrous, accompanied by lightning and thunder. You are courting death by touching my phoenixes. Suddenly, a clear voice came from far away in the void. At the same time as this clear voice rang out, surging purple flames seeped into the void. The surging purple flames were like a purple sun that blotted out the sky, descending with terrifying heat. Monstrous energy swept out and shook half the sky. Rumble. The ground was destroyed, and huge cracks appeared in the mountains, and the mountain peaks collapsed in torrents. Bang, bang, bang. The rolling purple flames covered the sky and swept across the sky, and it was as if a purple sun had erupted. It could destroy everything, and it had a supreme heavenly might. Those strange silhouettes were instantly crushed by the purple flames. Everything happened in an instant. The monstrous purple flames in the void then retracted, and the graceful figure of a beautiful woman appeared. Her fingers were slender, and her skin was smooth. There was a faint purplish-gold color in her snow-white skin, and her eyes were like purple suns, as if they could see through everything in the world.